As soon as I opened my eyes, I heard the heavy breathing of a woman beside me. The breathing was faint and broken. Trembling with fear, I turned my head, and by the dim light filtering through the window, I could clearly see her face. Even in the dark, she was beautiful. But the bruises on her collarbone were absolutely heartbreaking. What is going on? The crack of a belt, the shatter of a liquor bottle, the sound of a woman crying, those wounds. I was the one who inflicted them.
I've been reborn.
Reborn into the body of a man my own age. He was a violent, abusive alcoholic, a lazy, gambling deadbeat. I, Chen Zuang, was once a billionaire business legend. But the moment I opened my eyes, I became the head of this broken family. A wife, beating, gambling drunkard. You're awake? Are you having trouble sleeping? Let me go pour you a cup of tea. There is no need. Just go back to sleep. I tried to keep my voice as gentle as possible, but she reacted like a startled rabbit. I watched her walk barefoot across the cold concrete floor. When she reached the door, her instinctual backward glance wasn't for me. It was directed at our daughter in the corner. That look in Xu Meng's eyes, the emotions hidden within that gaze, made a businessman like me, who was so used to ruthless scheming, feel like my heart was being crushed. In my past life, I negotiated multi-billion-dollar deals. I met with politicians from all over the world. I slept with countless women who willingly threw themselves at me. I thought I had experienced everything life had to offer, but I had never seen a woman so deeply traumatized. Her first reaction upon waking was extreme caution, terrified of waking the monster who beat her. Her second was checking to see if her daughter was sleeping safely. I sat up and rubbed my temples. The memories kept flooding back. He was addicted to gambling, and whenever he lost, he beat his wife. Shut your mouth,
You cheap bitch.
how dare you ruin my luck? The worst beating she ever took. Left Xu Meng bedridden for 3 whole days. Yet she still had to force herself up to cook for him. He spent all day fooling around, accomplishing absolutely nothing. The entire family relied on Xu Meng's fruit stand at the market. The 2,000 or 3,000 yuan she made every month was all extorted by him to blow on gambling. Once he lost it all, had come home and beat her again. He didn't even care about his own daughter. When Qian had a high fever of 39 degrees, he was sitting at the gambling table, answered the phone, and just dropped one line. "I'm playing cards. Call me when She's dead." And finally yesterday. "Bro, you lost again." "It's fine. How much is Xu Meng worth anyway? Tell me, how much do you think Xu Meng is worth?" "Haha, why wouldn't she be worth something? She's a real beauty after all. If you don't believe me, come over tomorrow and I'll show you. Hell, someone's even coming to the door today to check out the goods." I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Xu Meng walked over with a cup of tea. I could see the marks of Qian tossing and turning in her sleep. I pulled back the curtain and took the cup of tea. "Come inside. It wouldn't be good if the mosquitoes got in and bit the kid." Xu Meng quietly looked up at me, in complete disbelief that the man who beat and cursed her at the drop of a hat could actually say such words. She got into bed and coaxed Qian to sleep. She lay down with her back to me. Her body was slightly tense. After a long while, she finally spoke in a soft voice. "You can't sleep." I gave a soft, "yeah." It was as if she had received a signal. With trembling fingers, she began unbuttoning her nightgown. "The bed is a bit small. Please be gentle." Her voice was numb, completely resigned to her fate. My mind exploded. I instantly understood. The previous owner of this body actually made his wife do this right next to their daughter, using her body to appease his explosive rage. A wave of absolute disgust and fury rushed straight to my brain, followed immediately by an even more intense, agonizing heartache. I firmly grabbed her hand as she unbuttoned her clothes.
"Xu Meng."
I looked straight into her eyes. It was the first time I had called her name so seriously. "Listen to me. You never have to do this again." Her entire body trembled violently. Her eyes widened to their limits, filled with shock and confusion, and a fragile glimmer of hope she didn't dare reveal. "Go to sleep. I'm gonna give you and Qian a proper life." As the words left my mouth, the plan in my mind became crystal clear. I woke up just as the sky began to lighten, not out of habit, but from the burning urge to change everything immediately, surging in my chest. It burned so fiercely I couldn't sleep a wink. Xu Meng was lifting Qian out of bed as gently as humanly possible. Seeing me open my eyes, she jumped in panic. "I am sorry." I woke up on my own. I sat up. "Let me take Qian to school today. After that, I'll go with you to the fruit stand. Business at the stand hasn't been great lately." I knew she thought I was just going there to take her money. Fear had become her instinct. But this time, I didn't explain. I stood up and walked toward the kitchen. There were only a few eggs left in the fridge, and a bowl of cold rice. The emptiness was heartbreaking. When 2 plates of golden, fragrant egg-fried rice were brought to the table, Xu Meng and Qian stood to the side, as if witnessing an unbelievable miracle. Qian looked up with her little face. "Mommy, Daddy knows how to cook." Xu Meng didn't answer. She just looked at me with a deeply complex expression. The farmer's market was loud and full of life. I stood in front of Xu Meng's fruit stand and frowned slightly. It was way too bare. There was only one type of apple, haphazardly displayed. On a torn piece of cardboard, 3.8 yuan per caddy was scribbled crookedly. The auntie selling vegetables next door hollered, "Oh my. Zuisheng actually came to help today. Did the sun rise in the west?" I didn't even bother giving her a glance. My mind was spinning rapidly. The lack of variety meant zero competitiveness. The rigid pricing left the profit margins way too thin. The foot traffic was sparse. It had absolutely no appeal. Xu Meng had to go pay the management fee. Before leaving, she gave me a deeply uneasy look. She whispered, "These apples cost 3 yuan wholesale." "I know. Go on." She kept looking back anxiously as she walked away. I bent down and picked up a few of the flimsy red plastic bags. I weighed them in my hand, then looked at the bustling crowd around me. People who were completely ignoring this little stand. A sales strategy instantly formed in my head. I grabbed a piece of cardboard from the electrical box, picked up a marker from the ground, and wrote 2 large lines. Then, without hesitation, I tore up the 3.8 yuan sign and placed the new sign in the most visible spot. The neighbor auntie looked at me with pity. 20 yuan a bag. Fill it up as much as you want. Chen Zuang, has the alcohol completely rotted your brain? Selling like this? You'll lose your pants. I slowly stood up and smiled at her. Auntie, you can't just calculate business by the ounce. What I need isn't to maximize the profit on a single bag of apples. It's to clear the inventory and recover the capital in the shortest time possible. To completely revive this dying stand. The new sign quickly worked its magic. A middle-aged man approached. "Boss, 20 yuan a bag. Fill it as much as I want. For real." "They aren't sour, are they?" I casually picked up an apple, swiftly sliced it open, and handed it to him. "Try it yourself. You'll know if it's sweet once you take a bite." After tasting it, he didn't say a word. He just snatched a bag and started stuffing it. He looked like he wanted to stuff it until the bag exploded. I smiled calmly. "As long as you can carry the bag away, those apples are yours." That sentence was like opening the floodgates. The crowd swarmed in. 20 yuan wasn't a lot of money, but the phrase "fill it up" instantly triggered people's most primal instincts. The smile on the neighbor auntie's face froze. Her jaw dropped. She stared at the scrambling crowd and the rapidly disappearing apples. The scale weight in her hand dropped to the ground, and she didn't even bother picking it up. After paying the fees, Xu Meng walked back, full of anxiety. From a distance, she saw our stand completely engulfed by a crowd. She was so terrified, her face turned pale. She thought I had caused some kind of disaster again. She desperately pushed her way through the crowd, but the sight before her left her stunned. She saw me standing behind the stand, not cowering or acting lowly, nor losing my temper or yelling, just standing there steadily, collecting money and handing out bags, while the people around me were going crazy, fighting to buy my apples. The same apples that used to barely sell all day were now disappearing at a visible rate. When she saw the sign saying 20 yuan a bag, fill it up, her face went ashen. "Are you crazy? 20 yuan to fill it up? We're going to lose everything." "Relax, I've calculated it all. Those plastic bags can hold 2.5 kilos at most. We're definitely making a profit. Look at them. They think they're getting a massive bargain. That's why they're fighting to hand us their money." She stared blankly at the line of people. "How much have we sold?" "Almost 500. 5,700. Her eyes went wide as she looked at me. If she were looking at a stranger. The apples in the boxes were almost gone, but there was still a long line waiting behind. I asked her if she wanted to restock. The people in line immediately started shouting, "Boss, hurry up and get more stock." Xu Meng hurriedly made a phone call. Following my instructions, she ordered an entire truckload straight from the supplier. Old Li drove the truck over. Seeing the scene, he couldn't help but click his tongue in praise. It was almost time to pick up Qianqian. More than half the truckload of apples had already been sold. Old Li counted on his fingers, then exclaimed in shock, "Good Lord, you must have sold over 500 kilos today?" Xu Meng couldn't believe her eyes.
What's the total revenue?
About 4,300 yuan. Compared to the future, this small amount wouldn't even be worth mentioning. But this was the first step for this family to get back on its feet. Xu Meng was dazed. Before, Shed struggled to make this much in an entire month. After cleaning up the stand, I took Xu Meng to buy groceries. Fish, meat, and pork ribs. We spent nearly 300 yuan. Xu Meng's lips parted, but she didn't say anything. I knew she was feeling the pinch of spending so much money, but today we absolutely had to celebrate. After picking up Qianqian, the little girl saw my hands full of groceries and cheered, dancing around. "Daddy, are we having a big feast?"
That's right.
Sweet and sour fish and braised pork ribs. I bent down and rubbed my cheek against her little face. "Yay. I love you the most, Daddy." She kept clinging to me, skipping around. Xu Meng watched the two of us, her eyes softening. There was a time when this home held nothing but silence and fear. Now, finally, there was a little warmth. The three of us walked home, laughing and chatting happily. Qianqian kept chattering away non-stop. A gentle smile bloomed on Xu Meng's face. This scene was everything I had yearned for since my rebirth. As we passed the convenience store at the end of the alley, Qianqian suddenly tugged at my shirt. Her eyes lit up as she pointed at a glass tank inside the store. "Daddy, look. Those bright red goldfish are so pretty." They were just ordinary goldfish, a few yuan each, but in Qianqian's eyes, they were priceless treasures. "All right, Daddy will buy them for you." Xu Meng turned her head and said, "I'll head back first to wash the vegetables."
You two, hurry home. Okay.
She carried the bags of vegetables, her footsteps light, walking toward the old apartment building a dozen meters away. I held Qianqian as she picked out her fish in front of the store. Just as I was paying, out of the corner of my eye, I suddenly saw a few figures loitering in front of our door, blocking Xu Meng's path as she held her keys to open the door. My heart dropped. "Sister-in-law, we've been waiting for you for a long time." Xu Meng was visibly startled and terrified. She took a step back, looking at them warily. "What do you want?" The blonde guy stepped closer with a sleazy smirk. "Just came to give you a little reminder, sister-in-law. Your husband, Chen Zuang, had a terrible run of luck at the casino last night, so he put you up as collateral to let us brothers have a little fun." Xu Meng swayed on her feet. The bags of vegetables slipped from her hands and hit the ground. Her face instantly drained of color. It was as if all the strength had been sucked out of her body. I quickly rushed over. Xu Meng had already turned around, her back to the thugs. Facing me as I approached, every trace of color had vanished from her face. Only silent tears streamed down her cheeks. She looked at me holding our daughter carrying a goldfish bowl, walking over like a good father. My lips trembled. If I wanted to say something, then I heard her voice. "Chen Zuang, you spent a whole night and day putting on this act, just to make me jump into this fire pit myself." She suddenly bent down, picked up the groceries she had just dropped, and hurled them at me with all her might. "I hate you. I want a divorce." The bags slammed into me, scattering food all over the ground. Qianqian was terrified. She burst into loud, wailing tears. "Mommy, don't hit Daddy." Before I could even open my mouth, Xu Meng spun around and lunged for the door, but she couldn't get inside. The guy with the triangle eyes grabbed her wrist. "Don't be in such a rush to leave, sister-in-law." He reached out to grope her, flashing a filthy grin. "Your husband signed it clearly in black and white. You're coming with us today." I saw Xu Meng freeze in place. The terror on her face was even deeper than before. In that moment, something inside me snapped. "Let her go." My voice rang out, ice cold. It was an aura forged from 10 years of surviving the cutthroat business world. These street thugs had never seen such a presence. A slap landed squarely on Triangle Eye's face. He stumbled back a few steps. The corner of his mouth split open. His gang was stunned. Everyone was completely shocked. "Beat him to death." He finally reacted, charging at me like a madman. All of them rushed me at once. I leaned to the side, dodging the attack, and delivered a brutal kick to his stomach. He let out a blood-curdling scream and flew backward, curling up on the ground, dry heaving. The other three cursed and lunged at me. My movements were strange. They were combat techniques I had learned in my past life. Every strike, every move was incredibly precise and ruthless. Less than a minute later, all four of them were crawling on the ground. Behind me, I heard Qianqian raise her little fists. She shouted, "Go, Daddy. Beat up the bad guys." Xu Meng remained completely silent. I walked up to Triangle Eyes and planted my foot on his chest. I looked down at him. "Listen closely. I've quit gambling. All previous debts are wiped clean. If you ever dare show your faces here again, I'll beat you every single time I see you. Understand?" He was still acting tough. You owe us money and refuse to pay. We're calling the cops." "Call the cops," I let out a cold laugh. "Illegal gambling rings. Do I need to tell you what the penalty is for massive illegal betting? I have the evidence right here on my phone. Want me to call the cops for you?" Their faces instantly turned pale.
Sorry.
"Brother Chen, we were wrong. We're getting out of here right now." "Hold on." I called them back. I turned my head and glanced at Xu Meng. She was still trembling. "Apologize to my wife. Now." The thugs looked like they wanted to die from humiliation, but they still had to bow their heads and apologize. "Sorry, sister-in-law. Get lost." I kicked Triangle Eyes aside. They scrambled to their feet and ran for their lives. The world fell quiet again. I turned to look at Xu Meng. The tear stains on her face hadn't dried yet. Her body was still shaking. The way she looked at me was full of fear, suspicion, and deep-seated trauma. My heart ached as if pierced by needles. I walked up to her, looked straight into her eyes, and spoke clearly, emphasizing every single word. "Xu Meng, the old Chen Zuang, was absolute scum. Dying 10,000 times wouldn't be enough to pay for what he did. I'm not asking for your immediate forgiveness. I just ask that you give me one more chance. I swear on my life. From this day forward, I, Chen Zuang, if I ever let you or Qianqian suffer even the slightest bit of grievance, may I die a horrible death." Xu Meng looked at me. Large tears kept streaming down her face. Her lips parted, Finally, with red eyes, she screamed, Chen Zuang, bastard. You're a complete bastard. I will never believe you again. With that, she grabbed Chan Qian and rushed into the house.
Slam.
The door was shut tight.
I won't bring up divorce anymore.
That's enough. He opened the door and walked into the kitchen. Soon, the aroma of sweet and sour fish and braised pork ribs filled the room. He brought the food to the bedroom and knocked on the door. Dinner's ready. Even if you're mad at me, don't let our child go hungry. I'll sleep in the living room. Setting the tray down, he turned and walked away. From behind the door came Qianqian's soft voice. Mommy, it smells so good. A moment later, he heard the faint clinking of bowls and chopsticks. Lying on the old sofa, he stared up at the ceiling. The road ahead was still very long, but the direction had never been clearer. Protect them. Make this family truly thrive. Late at night, the bedroom door creaked open just a crack. He closed his eyes, pretending to be fast asleep. A few seconds later, the door gently clicked shut, but this time it wasn't locked. A faint smile tugged at the corners of his mouth. Over the following days, he accompanied Xu Meng to the fruit stand every single day. 20 yuan a bag. Pick whatever you like. This had become a signature attraction at the market. They steadily sold over 500 caddies of apples every day. In less than a week, exactly 10,000 yuan had been added to Xu Meng's bank card. At night, she often found herself unable to sleep. In the days that followed, sales began to drop. I rolled out a new strategy. Let's stock up on some cherries and blueberries. She frowned. I've tried that before. They simply don't sell. This time is different. I divided the stand into two sections. The standard tier, 15 yuan a caddy. This included apples and honey peaches. The premium tier, 25 yuan a caddy. Mix and match cherries and blueberries. All the fruit was washed, sliced, and neatly boxed. Add 1 yuan for unlimited yogurt. Add another yuan and get a free caddy of apples. The stand was clean and organized, standing out sharply amidst the chaotic vegetable market. That day's revenue broke 3,000. What satisfied me even more was that more people bought the premium fruit than the standard ones. While packing up, she couldn't help but ask me why. I looked at her and smiled. Because expensive things make them feel like they're getting a better deal. For just a 10 yuan difference, they get to pick premium goods however they want. Who wouldn't be tempted? Doing business is all about grasping human psychology, she muttered. You just have a smooth way with words. Her mouth complained, but the corners of her lips couldn't hide her smile. This week, we made another 10,000 yuan. The way she looked at me slowly began to regain its light. That day, when picking up Qianqian to go home, I saw a sharply dressed man in a suit standing at the door. It was Xu Meng's older brother,
Xu Hai.
Xu Meng happily ran over to him. Xu Hai shot me a glance. His gaze swept over me like a razor. Xiao Chen, come buy a pack of smokes with me. I knew he had something to say. Walking to the parking lot, he pointed at a BMW. This car is worth over 200,000. What do you think? It's all right. He pulled out a bank card and slapped it into my hand. There's 200,000 in here. It'll give you the car, too. Divorce Xiao Meng tomorrow. The kid stays with her. The car and the money are yours. From now on, we're even. Hearing Xu Hai's words, I shook my head. Brother-in-law, am not the same man I used to be. A leopard can't change its spots. Xu Hai's expression instantly turned ice cold. Xiao Meng is the precious jewel of our family. Look at the kind of life she has had to live since she got with you. Drinking, gambling. Do you even deserve her? If you think it's not enough money, name your price. Anger flared up inside me. I knew he was cursing the man I used to be, but those words still stung bitterly. Give me a few more months. You're not even worth an ant. He cut me off.
You country bumpkin?
Did you really think graduating college made you a city boy? If Xiao Meng hadn't been blind back then, what the hell would you even be? Don't people like you just want to climb the social ladder to cash in? Marrying a beautiful wife makes you feel like a big shot, doesn't it? Do you deserve her? I clenched my fists, then slowly let them go. My peasant background embarrasses your family. I looked him dead in the eye. Enunciating every word, I said, but don't try to throw money at me. You don't have enough. In 3 months, I can make 1,000,000 yuan. Come talk to me then. Xu Hai froze for a moment. Then, as if hearing the biggest joke in the world, he burst out laughing. I didn't bother paying him any more attention. I turned and headed back. When I got home, Xu Meng came out to greet me. Her eyes were full of worry. Are you okay? I'm fine. Your brother was just giving me some encouragement. I smiled and lied. She didn't believe me, but she didn't press the issue. Xu Hai stayed for dinner. At the dining table, his eyes swept over the old furniture in the house, and he frowned. You're still keeping this junk. Aren't you afraid people will laugh at you? Just as I was about to speak, Xu Meng gently tugged at my shirt under the table. She said softly to her brother, Brother, Zuisheng has really changed lately. Has helped me come up with a lot of ideas. And we've even made some money. Xu Hai scoffed coldly, not bothering to reply. Right at that moment, his phone rang. He picked it up. His expression instantly changed. What?
President Liu isn't satisfied with our marketing plan.
Didn't we agree to finalize the draft today? The voice on the other end sounded extremely frantic. Sitting nearby, I could vaguely hear. President Liu looked at the plan and said it was too outdated. Stuff like enjoying life and a masterpiece for the ages. He said clients nowadays don't care for this kind of stuff anymore. He wants to discuss it with you personally in the final 3 hours. If we can't fix it, the entire planning fee for this project will be cut.
Even your job might be on the line.
Shu Hai hurriedly pulled out his laptop and began humbly negotiating with the client. The other party demanded that it highlight a premium positioning. Without appearing arrogant, it needed cultural depth, yet also had to appeal to a younger demographic. I listened to a few sentences. Glancing at his proposal, I realized his entire mindset was completely wrong. High-end real estate isn't about selling houses. It's about selling social class and resources. It's about selling the future. I didn't say anything. I turned and went back to the kitchen. By the time I brought the food out again, Shu Hai had disappeared. His laptop was still open. The proposal was paused halfway through. My brother went outside to make a call. Shu Meng was sick with worry. If this gets messed up, he might even lose his job. I heard this real estate project is their company's most important project this year. Qianqian suddenly looked up with her little face. Daddy, are you smarter than Uncle? Unless you prove it to me. I smiled and sat down. Moving the mouse, I directly selected Shu Hei's unfinished proposal. I selected all and deleted everything. Are you crazy? Shu Meng gasped. He hasn't saved it yet. Saving it is useless anyway. His whole concept is wrong. I didn't explain further. My fingers flew across the keyboard. Very quickly, I was completely immersed in it. A brand new proposal gradually took shape under my hands. The operational logic of the upper class. Resource integration mindset. Step-by-step construction of an identity verification system. When Shu Hai returned and saw me sitting at his laptop, he instantly blew his top. Who told you to touch my computer? He just wanted to help. Shu Meng hurriedly explained. What the hell does he know about real estate marketing? Shu Hai lunged forward, ready to explode in a rage, but suddenly froze. On the screen was an incredibly polished marketing proposal. But the very next second, his eyes turned red. Where is my old proposal? Deleted. He trembled all over. Do you know how many all-nighters I pulled for that? But right at that moment, his phone rang. It was time to submit the draft. He stared at the nearly finished new proposal on the screen, his expression shifting rapidly. Finally, he gritted his teeth and hit send. Then he glared at me with burning eyes. If this gets screwed up, I won't let you off the hook. The results weren't out yet. I picked up my glass of water and took a sip. Less than 10 minutes later, his phone rang again. He answered and listened for a few moments. The corner of his mouth twitched slightly. After hanging up, he looked at me with a deeply complex expression. Then he grabbed his laptop and walked straight out. Heading to the company. I'll settle the score with you when I get back. I smiled faintly. I knew exactly what he was about to face. The contents of that proposal were absolutely not something someone of his caliber could clearly explain. Sure enough, not long after, my phone rang. It was Shu Hai on the other end. His voice sounded a bit flustered. Chen Zuang, can you come to my company right now? President Liu insists on meeting the planner in person. Send me the address. I'll drive over and pick you up. On the way to the company, Shu Hai drove very fast. The atmosphere in the car was incredibly heavy. He didn't say a word, and I didn't bother speaking either. While waiting at a red light, his face was tense. Finally, he blurted out, Later, when we meet President Liu, keep your mouth shut. Let me handle it. I shot him a glance. Keep making things up, and get exposed right on the spot. His face flushed bright red. He fell silent, then walked into the reception room. An elegantly dressed middle-aged man stood up. Pointing at the projector screen, he asked me, Mr. Chen, this concept of an upper-class convergence playground is excellent. How exactly do we implement it? I walked up to the projector. I told the assistant to flip to the operations page. I designed an identity verification system. First, property owners must pass a review by the management board. It's not just about having money. They must possess valuable resources for the elite community, such as a strong network, specialized skills, or social influence. Second, I propose reserving 30% of the housing stock as flexible living spaces to invite top-tier entrepreneurs, artists, and scholars for short-term residencies, allowing the community to generate its own prestige. Third, host monthly high society dialogues. As long as we invite outstanding figures in the industry, non-residents won't be able to buy a ticket in no matter how much money they have. President Liu's eyes lit up, transforming a house from a mere commodity into a membership ticket. He asked about a few more details. I answered fluently. The veteran planners beside him nodded continuously in approval. President Liu stood up, looking at me with a burning gaze. The marketing director position is currently vacant. Annual salary, 500,000 yuan.
Will you take the job?
500,000 yuan. I felt Shu Hai's breath hitch for a second. I smiled and shook my head. I still have to help my wife run her fruit stand. I'm not considering getting a job right now. President Liu was stunned for a moment. I continued, but there's something I'm not sure if I should say.
Please do.
Your pricing for this real estate project is far too conservative. The atmosphere instantly froze. Shuhai hurriedly tugged at my sleeve. President Liu narrowed his eyes. Mr. Chen,
What do you mean?
given the current market situation, our pricing is already the highest in this area, if I'm not mistaken. The opening price you've prepared is 85,000 yuan per square meter, right? I paused for a moment. I suggest raising it to over 120,000 yuan. Gasps of shock echoed throughout the meeting room. Some people had already started shaking their heads. President Liu said, Mr. Chen, perhaps you don't fully understand the market. In this area, anything over 90,000 yuan is already a tough sell. Here is the situation. I walked over to the window and pointed at the empty plot of land to the east of the project. First, the minutes from last week's Development and Reform Commission meeting mentioned strengthening the railway transit network in the Eastern New District. Second, the new mayor, in his speech at the Construction Systems Symposium last month, emphasized shortening the commute time between the new development zone and the inner city. Third, the Planning Bureau's website recently updated the land use map for the eastern sector. The plot of land east of your project has been reclassified from reserve land to transportation infrastructure land. The meeting room suddenly fell dead silent. Everyone's eyes were fixed on me. String these pieces of information together, add in the new mayor's resume. When he was in office in the Southern New District, the first major thing he did was push for the construction of a subway extension line. I predict that within the next 6 months, the subway extension plan will be announced. There is a high probability the station will be located right east of your project. President Liu suddenly shot up from his seat. How certain are you? 70%, I said calmly, but even if it were only 50%, it's worth the gamble. Because once the news is announced, housing prices will instantly spike by over 30%. If you raise the price to 120,000 now, it might look expensive, but compared to its actual value 6 months from now, it's still a bargain. I looked toward President Liu. More importantly, once the subway news is announced, surrounding mass market housing projects will flood the market. If you stick to the 85,000 yuan price tag, you'll completely lose the positioning advantage of an upper-class convergence playground. The rich won't want to be neighbors with office workers squeezing onto the subway. The reception room was completely silent. President Liu stared at me for a full minute. Then he made a phone call.
Secretary Wang.
Contact Director Li at the planning department. Discreetly look into the subway plans for the Eastern New District. 10 minutes of waiting. Felt as long as 10 years. The phone rang. President Liu picked it up. The more he listened, the more serious his expression became. Finally, he just said one sentence. It's confirmed then. All right, I understand. He hung up and looked at me. Come work at my company as the vice president of marketing. Annual salary? 1 million yuan.
Will you take it?
An annual salary of 1 million yuan. I saw Shu Hai's face flush bright red. He stood there, completely dumbfounded. I still shook my head. I have no interest in working for someone else. I want to spend more time with my family. President Liu looked at me for a long time, then smiled bitterly. To each their own ambition, but I still want to hire you for this project. You name your price. I looked over at Shu Hai. Actually, Specialist Shu has a very solid foundation, has already fully grasped the core concept of this proposal. President Liu, you can just work directly with him. Shu Hai froze.
He looked at me,
his eyes full of disbelief. President Liu thought for a moment, then finally nodded. All right, then I'll be counting on both of you for this project. Stepping out of the company, Shu Hai still looked like he was in a dream. He suddenly asked 1 million yuan a year, and you really don't want it. Did you really analyze that subway news all by yourself? The information was right there in plain sight. I said, the fruit stand at home can't run without me. He was silent for a few seconds. His voice trembled slightly. Do you even know what 1 million yuan means? I've worked my ass off for 8 years just to make half of that. Brother, once this deal goes through, you'll be the company's top contributor. I patted his shoulder. Your path forward will be much wider. I got in the car and left. Through the rearview mirror, I saw him still rooted to the spot. He watched my retreating figure for a long time without moving. At dinner time, Shu Hai came over again. I took the initiative to raise my glass. Substituting tea for wine, I said, brother-in-law, for all the bastardly things I've done in the past, I sincerely apologize. Shu Meng was stunned. Her chopsticks paused mid-air. I knew what she was thinking. The old Chen Zuang only knew how to cause trouble. When had he ever apologized to anyone? Shu Hai looked away, a bit unnerved. Shu Meng looked at him, then back at me. Suddenly, she spoke up. Brother, did you say something to him again? I smiled. Your brother was just reminding me to be more ambitious. Shu Meng put her chopsticks down. She looked at Shu Hai seriously. Brother, I chose him. I chose this path. No matter how bitter the fruit, I'll bear it myself. If you all really want what's best for me, then stop saying things that put me in a difficult position. Under the light, her eyes held a stubbornness that refused to turn back. Shu Hai raised his glass and downed it in one gulp. He sighed and didn't say anything else. He ate hurriedly and left. After seeing him off, I turned around. Shu Meng was looking at me. You're acting really strange today? Strange how? I can't really explain it. She tilted her head. It just feels like a long nightmare has finally come to an end. It was late. As usual, I laid out my bedding on the living room sofa. Shu Meng came out of the bedroom holding a blanket. She stopped at the door. She turned her head to look at me. Are you addicted to sleeping on the sofa? She smiled, pursing her lips. Then she turned and went back into the room. The door wasn't closed. Early the next morning, Shu Meng took Qian Qian to check out a new kindergarten. I stayed home to check the accounts, planning my next move. Near noon, my phone suddenly rang. As soon as I picked up, I heard Shu Meng's sobbing voice. There was a chaotic noise in the background. Zuisheng hurried to the city people's hospital.
Qian Qian.
Qian Qian suddenly couldn't breathe. Shez in the emergency room right now. My mind went completely blank. I dropped everything and rushed out the door. At the hospital, the Shu family was already there. As soon as my father-in-law, Xu Zhengqi, saw me, he stormed over in a rage. Chen Zuisheng, look at this.
Look at how much you've ruined her.
The doctor said this illness should have been caught early. A nurse hurriedly stopped the family. Please keep your voices down. My mother-in-law, Gu Manru, walked over with red eyes. Her voice trembled. The doctor said it's idiopathic pulmonary arterial hypertension, a rare disease. The medication they're using now is just to temporarily stabilize her. She needs a specific targeted drug. The imported one costs over 100,000 a month, and she has to take it long-term. My heart felt like it was being crushed. Pulmonary arterial hypertension. How is that possible? Shu Meng threw herself into my arms, crying so hard her whole body shook. The doctor said Shez probably had it for a long time. The symptoms weren't obvious. It's all my fault for not noticing. Sometimes she said she was tired, but I just thought she was worn out from playing. What's the point of saying all this now? Xu Zhengqi's voice was harsh. Treating the illness requires money. The targeted drug costs over 100,000 a month. Can you even afford that? Gu Manru looked at her daughter. Xiao Meng, listen to me.
Get a divorce.
Once you divorce, the Shu family will cover Qianqian's medical bills. Shu Meng suddenly looked up.
Mom.
What are you saying? Do you still want to follow him and suffer? Just look at the child. Gu Manru burst into tears too. We can't stop this medication. If we stop, her condition will deteriorate rapidly. Shu Meng stared blankly at the tightly closed emergency room doors. Her tears kept falling, but she wiped her face fiercely and stood up straight.
Mom, I've already told you.
I chose him. I chose this path. No matter how hard or difficult it gets, well, bear it ourselves. Can you bear it? Xu Zhengqi yelled angrily. Over 30,000 yuan a month. And who knows how long she'll have to take this drug. I pulled Shu Meng behind me to protect her and looked straight at Xu Zhengqi. Well, figure out the money ourselves. You don't need to worry about it, Dad. Figure it out. What can you possibly figure out? Xu Hai couldn't help but speak up. You turned down a job with 1 million yuan annual salary from Director Liu. I have my own ways now. I cut him off. Qian Qian is our daughter. We will take full responsibility for her. Xu Zhengqi stared at me for a long time, then suddenly let out a cold laugh. Fine. You've got some nerve. Then you two can bear it yourselves. Let's go. The Shu family all left. Shu Meng leaned on my shoulder, sobbing. Her shoulders trembled uncontrollably. Don't be afraid. I patted her back gently. I'm here.
But what about the medical bills? She looked up with tear-filled eyes.
It's 30,000 yuan a month. Money won't be an issue. I looked out the window. You just take good care of Qian Qian. Leave everything else to me. At the billing counter, I looked at the bank card in my hand. It held the money we had saved by working day and night, scrapping together every single penny. But I knew that to cure my daughter, this amount was nowhere near enough. In my past life, I built $1 trillion empire from nothing. In this life, for this family, I have to make enough money right now. In the hospital corridor, I frantically searched my memories for any way to make quick cash. Derivatives are too slow. Antiques are too risky. Jade gambling requires connections. Just then, a highly classified memory suddenly became clear. The virtual horse racing section of an underground casino. There was a loophole with advanced payouts. Someone had exploited it to walk away with over 2 million yuan in just 3 days. The site only noticed the anomaly when they audited their books. The mechanics of this loophole weren't complicated, but it required extremely precise timing to encourage players to bet when a virtual match reached its final 30 seconds. The system would use real-time odds to advance the potential winnings, displaying them as the user's available balance. The catch was, during these final 30 seconds, if a user used this virtual balance to bet on other matches that were about to end, the system would actually confirm the bet. As long as it was done right, you could use a small amount of real capital to leverage dozens of times the virtual capital and place chain bets. Once all the matches were settled, as long as the final bet won, the profit would be real money. Simply put, it's like betting 100 yuan at a casino before the results are out. If you're about to win, they front you 1,000 yuan in chips and say this could be yours. You immediately turn around and use that 1,000 yuan in chips to bet at another table and win. In the end, The casino has no choice but to pay up, and I knew the exact operational time frame of this loophole, its trigger conditions, and how to bypass the risk control system. Most importantly, at this point in time, no one knew about this loophole yet. I glanced at the clock in the hospital corridor. 20 p.m. I turned and quickly walked out of the inpatient ward. Near the hospital was a rundown internet cafe, thick with cigarette smoke. I got a computer in the most secluded corner and logged into a site that looked like a normal sports news page. But I knew the secret entrance. After 3-page redirects, I finally reached a basic interface. A site with only text and simple animations. Lucky Horse Racing. Virtual horse racing, 3 minutes per race. I took a deep breath. Step 1. Register a new account, using a randomly generated username. Step 2. Deposit funds. This site supported a few discrete third-party payment channels. I chose to deposit in scattered, small amounts. 5 minutes later, 5,000 yuan of capital was in the account. Account balance, 5,000. At 2:40 p.m., the first virtual horse race began. I bet 1,000 yuan on horse number 3 at 2.5 odds. The simulated race reached its final 40 seconds. Horse, no. 3 moved up from 5th to 2nd place. At this moment, in the bottom right corner of the system interface, my available balance suddenly jumped. From 4,000 it became 5,500. The system had taken the 1,000 yuan bet and added the 1,500 yuan in potential winnings in advance. But I didn't make a move yet. This was just a normal display. It wasn't the loophole yet. The race ended. Horse, no. 3 won by a narrow margin. Actual settlement, 1,500 profit. Account balance, 6,500. The second race was at 2:45 p.m. I bet 2,000 yuan on a consecutive win, predicting the top 2 horses, odds 3.2. In the final 30 seconds, the system displayed the advanced profit again. My balance jumped from 4,500 to 11,400. 4,500 plus 2,000 times 3.2. Here comes the crucial part. When the race had only 25 seconds left, I quickly switched to another virtual soccer match that was about to end. In a minor prop bet, I used the entire 11,400 balance to place a wager. In the last 5 minutes, the odds for a goal being scored were 1.8. The system confirmed it successfully. Bet placed successfully. The loophole really existed. It treated the projected profit as actual usable capital. My heart started beating faster. The horse race ended. Consecutive win, profit earned 4,400. In the 89th minute of the soccer match, the virtual player fired a long shot into the net. Profit, 20,520. The account balance changed instantly. Adding 4,400 and 20,520, the total was 26,920 in less than 10 minutes. 5,000 had turned into 21,000, but I didn't stop. I knew this loophole could be exploited continuously. As long as I timed the final 30 seconds of each match perfectly, the multiplier effect would snowball, making the virtual capital grow exponentially.
Even if I lost,
I'd only be losing that virtual capital. Round 3. Round 4. Round 3. Round 4. My hands moved swiftly over the keyboard and mouse. My eyes were glued to 3 windows at once, each counting down different matches. Every move had to be precise down to the second. At 3:21 p.m., I completed the final round of operations. The final account balance on the screen was 126,800. I had used 5,000 yuan to make over 140 times the profit in just an hour. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the numbers on the screen. My palms sweaty. I clicked the withdraw button. The site notified me that large withdrawals required manual review, and the funds would hit my account within 2 hours. I cleared all my browsing history, shut down the computer, and got up to leave. When I stepped out of the internet cafe, the sunlight was a bit blinding. I raised my hand to shield my eyes and took a deep breath. 120,000 yuan was still far too little for Chiankin's condition. To cure her completely, I needed a lot more money. But I knew that very soon, someone would come and hand me the money. Pushing open the hospital room door, I heard the nurse's cold voice.
Ems.
XU.
There's only a 5,000 yuan deposit in the system. You must pay the full amount today. Otherwise, we can't continue with the tests and medication. Xu Meng was so frantic she was crying. That's impossible. My husband just went to pay 10,000 yuan an hour ago. She saw me walk in, and her voice suddenly caught in her throat. Where's the money? Where's the 10,000 yuan? You only paid 5,000. I looked into her eyes. I took the other 5,000 to bet on horse racing. Horse racing? Xu Meng's expression instantly shattered. She stumbled a bit. If all her strength had been drained, Chen Zuang, that was Qianqian's life-saving money, and you took it to gamble. She lunged at me, pounding her fists against my chest, crying her heart out. Are you even human? What happened to your promises? The nurse standing nearby shook her head and sighed, her eyes full of contempt. I grabbed her wrists and lowered my voice. Meng, listen to me. I won with that 5,000. The money will hit the account within 2 hours of withdrawal. Qianqian's medical bills are temporarily sorted. She stopped and looked up, looking at me with absolute despair. You're starting again. You're starting to lie again, aren't you? The finger she pointed at me trembled violently. You know full well what I hate most about you is? What happened to your promises? I stayed silent. Anything I said right now would just sound like an excuse? Give me 2 hours. I let go of her and looked at our pale daughter on the hospital bed. In 2 hours, I'll bring the money back. With that, I turned and left. Behind me was her suppressed, desperate crying. When I came back with hot porridge, Xu Meng was slumped by the bed, seemingly asleep, but her trembling shoulders gave her away. Qianqian was awake. Her tiny body was covered in IV tubes. Seeing me, she managed a weak smile. Daddy, Qianqian is being very good. I leaned down and gently touched her little face. Daddy will definitely beat this illness. I'll take you to the most fun amusement park, and eat cotton candy bigger than the clouds. Qianqian's eyes lit up. She whispered, I want to be with Daddy and Mommy forever. Xu Meng looked up. Her eyes were red. She looked at our daughter's pleading eyes, then back at me. Finally, she just let out an exhausted sigh. Taking the bowl of porridge, she said, Go take care of your business first. Her voice was hoarse. I'm here. I knew this was the last bit of a chance she was giving me. I glanced at my watch. When I walked out of the hospital room, I didn't look back. I left the hospital. Preparing to head to the bank, a black Mercedes suddenly blocked my path. The car door opened. 2 men in black suits with expressionless faces stepped out. Mr. Chen, Bosku invites you into the car for a chat. That was fast. I nodded and got in. The interior was incredibly spacious. A man in his 40s, wearing an exquisitely tailored suit, sat across from me. His features weren't fierce at all. In fact, he looked somewhat refined.
Guidong.
I had dealt with him quite a bit in my past life, and even collaborated with him. Chen Zuang. He looked up at me.
You've got some skills?
That crappy system of mine. I hired 7 or 8 programmers to watch over it, and there hasn't been a single glitch in 3 years. You just made your move and tore a massive hole in it. Tell me, how did you find it? I leaned back in my seat, meeting his gaze.
Boss Gu, you run a casino, but you're afraid of people winning money.
The system having a loophole is your problem. I won that money with my own skills.
What are you trying to back out of paying?
Weidong narrowed his eyes. It's just over 100 grand. I, Gu Weidong, am not that sore of a loser. He smiled. You can take the money, but you can't just walk away without paying a price. I knew he was probing into my background. I knew him very well in my past life, but I couldn't show all my cards just yet. I smiled. Fair enough. I won't take your money for nothing. How about I give you a piece of information? Weidong raised an eyebrow. Let's hear it. It's about your old man, mister? Gu Changgang. The jade ring on Gu Weidong's finger stopped moving. Has he been experiencing occasional chest tightness lately, along with numbness in his left shoulder and arm? My voice was calm. I advise him to go get a coronary CT scan immediately. Focus on checking the midsection of the left anterior descending artery. Routine checkups won't detect non-calcified plaques. Weidong's pupils contracted slightly. He stared at me for a few seconds, then immediately made a call. Director Wang, please arrange an emergency heart exam for my old man. A coronary CT scan focusing on the left anterior descending artery.
Yes.
The car fell into silence. 40 minutes later, his phone rang. Guidong picked it up, and his expression drastically changed. After hanging up, the way he looked at me had completely changed. The left anterior descending artery is severely narrowed.
Over 85%.
Any later, and we wouldn't have been able to save him. Chen Zuang, who exactly are you? That doesn't matter. I met his gaze. My money will be unfrozen and my safety guaranteed. On my turf, Weidong stared at me intently. No one can touch you, but someone like you wouldn't take this risk just for 70 million. You still have something else to say, don't you? Sharp as expected. There is indeed one more piece of information. I looked him in the eye. About a woman you've been searching for over a decade without success. And a child whose existence you probably don't even know about. Weidong suddenly sat up straight. His refined demeanor completely vanished. His eyes filled with shock. What did you say? She married a high school teacher in Suzhou. She lives a very quiet life. I lowered my voice. She has a daughter. Her 7th birthday is on June 17th. Weidong's face turned pale. His fingers trembled slightly.
That date. That age?
Speak.
What do you want? His voice was raspy and thick. 500 million yuan, and this information is yours. A Chiang. Transfer the funds immediately. Guidong turned and gave the order. 10 minutes later, my phone vibrated. A notification confirmed the money had hit my bank account. I sent him the detailed information I had already prepared on my phone. The deal was done. I opened the car door. My daughter is in the hospital. She needs absolute peace and quiet. Don't let any trouble find its way to her door. Guidong gave a decisive nod. I'll arrange the best resources at the hospital. The car door slammed shut. The Mercedes drove away. I stood at the hospital entrance. I now had 572 million yuan in my card. Qianqian's medical fees were finally covered. I gripped my phone tightly. I hurried into the hospital building. I rushed toward the ward as fast as I could. I pushed the door open, but Xu Meng wasn't there. My father-in-law, Xu Zhengqi, was sitting by the bed. His face was grim and ashen. Your daughter is this sick. Yet as a father, you're out running around everywhere. I didn't even bother to acknowledge him. I walked to the bedside and touched Qianqian's forehead. I asked softly, "Where's Mommy, sweetie?" Mommy said she had something to take care of. She told Grandpa to watch me. Xu Zhengqi let out a cold snort. The two of you are exactly the same, always running off. She hasn't shown her face for hours. My heart tightened. Xu Meng would never abandon Qianqian at a time like this. It's been hours. I immediately called her. No one picked up. No answer. Xu Zhengqi also realized something was wrong. Why isn't Meng Meng answering her phone? Just then, the sound of a cleaning lady cursing drifted in from the hallway. These heartless people, plastering surrogacy ads all over the restroom again. How can they live with themselves making money like that?
Surrogacy.
A terrifying thought immediately flashed through my mind. Xu Meng wouldn't. No way. She wouldn't be that foolish. But in the next second, I remembered her stubborn face and those bloodshot eyes. She really would do it. I turned and bolted out of the ward.
Where are you going? The hospital is hounding us for the fees.
Xu Zhengqi shouted after me. I've already paid the fees. Just watch over Qianqian, Dad. I sprinted toward the women's restroom, ignoring the screams from inside. I kicked open every single stall door. In the third stall, a phone number was plastered on the wall. Guaranteed sons and high pay for surrogates. 300,000 yuan advance payment. I dialed the number immediately. Looking for a surrogate. I lowered my voice. I spoke with a cold, decisive tone. I need a child urgently. Money is no object. The woman on the other end sounded wary. Sir, I think you have the wrong number. Stop playing games. I let out a cold laugh. My wife can't conceive.
I want a son.
And I want to be able to choose the gender. There was a few seconds of silence. The other person's tone suddenly became enthusiastic. Boss, you're certainly well informed. We can make that happen. But regarding the price, money isn't an issue. I cut her off. But I want to handpick the person. I don't want anyone who's done this before.
I want someone completely new.
Preferably someone who hasn't given birth before. Young, healthy, with good genes. We don't have any new recruits available right now. The woman sounded hesitant. Are you sure about that? I raised my voice. She was clearly taken aback. How did you know I have other channels? I said coldly. Send me the address. I'm coming over to see for myself right now. If I'm satisfied, I'll pay double. Double. Her voice trembled. Boss, are you serious? I'm in a hurry. I glanced at my watch. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Keep the new one for me. If Shez already signed a contract and started the process, then the deal is off. She hasn't signed yet. She just finished the preliminary checkup. Just come over, boss. We'll be waiting for you. I hung up and rushed out of the hospital. I hailed a taxi. Driver, get me to this location, fast. At the same time, I called the police. I whispered the address to them. I reported a suspicion of an illegal surrogacy ring. 20 minutes later, I stood in a dilapidated urban village. I found an old building with a sign for domestic help services. I went straight up to the third floor. The door was slightly ajar. A middle-aged woman with heavy makeup was eyeing me. Are you the boss who called? Where is she? I walked straight inside. In the lounge area? The woman followed me with a fawning smile. This one has great potential. 28 years old, already had one daughter. Natural birth. Excellent health. She needs money urgently, so the price is negotiable. I pushed the door open. Xu Meng was sitting on a tattered sofa. Her hands were gripping the hem of her shirt tightly. When she saw me walk in, her eyes suddenly widened. She was completely stunned. Shall do. I observed her indifferently, as if I were inspecting a piece of merchandise. Stand up and turn around for me. As she stood up, a look of pure terror washed over her face. What do you think, boss? The woman said flatteringly. Her looks and figure are top-notch. She even has a bachelor's degree. I walked right up to Xu Meng. I stared into her face. She's so thin. Can she even produce a son? We can't guarantee a boy or a girl 100%. But we can perform screenings. The woman explained hurriedly. I want to be certain it's a boy, I said coldly. I'm willing to pay extra. But if it turns out to be a girl, you will be held fully responsible. Boss, that's a huge risk. High risk means high profit. I turned and glared at the woman. I'm taking this one. Name your price. Let's sign the contract now. I'm taking her with me right now. The woman was taken aback. Boss, I need to expedite this process. I pulled a bank card from my pocket. Money is no object. But I'm taking her with me immediately. The middle-aged woman's eyes darted around. Boss, this isn't how we usually do things. If you take her and something happens, then call someone who actually has the authority to make decisions. I stared her down. Or do you simply not have the power to decide? The woman's expression shifted. Boss, please wait a moment. She stepped out of the room. She closed the door. The moment it shut, Xu Meng rushed over and grabbed my arm. Are you crazy? Get out of here. Now, we're leaving together? I gripped her hand. Trust me. Footsteps echoed outside. The door was kicked open. The middle-aged woman returned. Behind her were two burly men, and a middle-aged man in a suit. He wore gold-rimmed glasses. Boss, this is our manager Chen. Manager Chen sized me up. I heard you're in a hurry to take her away. Then let's talk price. 800,000 yuan for the full package. Guaranteed to be a boy. You can pay a 500,000 yuan deposit first. I'll transfer it right now, but I'm taking her with me. The rest will be paid once the pregnancy is confirmed. Manager Chen chuckled.
Boss.
That's not how the rules work. You pay the full amount now? As for the girl, we will deliver her to your specified location. He adjusted his glasses. His smile was laced with hidden meaning. Otherwise, I'm afraid you won't be leaving this room. I narrowed my eyes. My money isn't that easy to swallow. Then let's see if you have what it takes to walk out that door. Manager Chen gave a subtle nod. The two thugs took a step forward. Right then, the faint sound of police sirens drifted from below. Manager Chen's face changed instantly.
You called the cops?
Why would I do that? I let out a cold laugh. But it seems your business isn't exactly clean. The sirens grew louder, closing in fast. Chaos erupted downstairs. Manager Chen roared, "Waste him. Get out through the back." The two thugs lunged at me from both sides. I shoved Xu Meng into the corner with all my strength. I grabbed a chair and swung it with everything I had. The guy on the left grunted. The wooden chair shattered against his shoulder. He let out a pained groan. His movements faltered for a second. But the thug on the right had already thrown a punch that whistled through the air, aiming straight for my temple. I jerked my head to the side. The fist grazed my cheek. It burned like fire. Before I could even steady myself, a flash of cold steel caught my eye. He had pulled out a switchblade. He lunged straight for Xu Meng. Xu Meng's piercing scream filled the room. In a heartbeat, I threw myself forward. I shielded Xu Meng with my body. The sound of the sharp blades sinking into flesh was sickening. A surge of agonizing pain exploded. My left shoulder went cold. Then it turned into a searing white-hot burn. The thug hadn't expected me to jump in front of the blade. He froze for a split second. That was my chance. My right hand clamped onto his wrist, and I slammed my forehead into the bridge of his nose. A sickening crunch followed by a pathetic howl. He dropped the knife. Police.
Don't move.
Everyone on the ground. In that single moment, the police stormed the floor. I clutched my left shoulder as blood soaked through my shirt. I stayed positioned in front of Xu Meng. I raised my right hand. Officer, were the victims here? Manager Chen was pinned to the floor, still trying to struggle, but the officers held him down firmly. A young officer saw me covered in blood. He immediately barked into his radio. "We have a casualty here. Send an ambulance immediately." Xu Meng rushed to my side, her trembling hands pressed against my wound. Tears streamed down her face. Her voice broke as she sobbed. You're bleeding. There is so much blood." I leaned against the wall. I forced a small smile for her. I used my good hand to gently touch her face. "It's okay. It's just a scratch. As long as you're safe, that's all that matters." By the time we walked out of the police station, the sky was pitch black. Xu Meng gripped my arm tightly. Her fingertips were ice cold. She was still shaking. Once we reached a quiet spot, she stopped walking. She looked up at me. Her face was stained with tears. "How did you know I was there? How could you be so reckless to go in alone?" I reached out and gently wiped away her tears. "Because you're my wife, and Qianqian is our daughter. Even if the sky falls, I'm here to hold it up. Don't worry. I've already paid Qianqian's medical bills." Xu Meng collapsed into my arms and sobbed uncontrollably, as if she were finally letting out all the fear and resentment. I held her trembling body close, letting her tears soak into my shirt. The night sky was indifferent, but the darkest moment had finally passed. Back at the hospital, a nurse tended to my wound. The stab wound on my left shoulder required over 10 stitches. The doctor said if it had been any deeper, it would have hit a nerve. Once I was bandaged up, I told Xu Meng to go check on our daughter first. She hesitated for a moment, but having been away from the child for so long, she couldn't rest. Finally, she nodded and went. She was still uneasy, but she eventually went. I sat on the bench in the treatment room and let out a long sigh. Just as I was about to stand up, my phone chimed with a notification. Weidong's side had transferred another sum of money. They said it was a medical support fund for Qianqian. I glanced at the amount. This would be more than enough. When I pushed open the door to the ward, Xu Hai was standing at the end of the hallway on a call. When he saw me, his face darkened instantly. He hung up and marched toward me. "Chen Zuang." He lowered his voice. "Where did that 500,000 yuan deposit for the medicine come from?" "I won it on digital horse racing," I answered simply. He stared at me for a few seconds. Then he let out a cold, mocking laugh. "Chen Zuang, you've been gambling for years? You've never brought home a single cent. And now that your daughter is sick, you suddenly win a fortune." I didn't respond. "I bet you crawled to Liu Xingrong and begged for it. You acted so noble before, refusing to take it. Now you're back on your knees, groveling for a loan. Let me tell you something. Don't you dare let that 1 million yuan debt drag the Shu family down. With that, he turned and walked away. I stood there, watching him leave. Over the next month, Qianqian remained hospitalized. Idiopathic pulmonary arterial hypertension is extremely rare. In this country, we could only rely on imported targeted drugs. Despite our efforts, her condition continued to deteriorate bit by bit. Xu Meng and I took turns watching over her. She took the day shift, and I took the night. When I was tired, I'd catch a few minutes of sleep on the hallway chairs. When I was hungry, I'd eat the cheapest boxed meals from the cafeteria. The rest of the Xu family never showed their faces. I knew Xu Meng was hurting inside, but she never said a word. Sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night and see her slumped by the bed, staring blankly while holding Qianqian's tiny hand. A month later, the Xu family finally showed up. The doctor was finishing an examination on Qianqian. After he was done, the doctor spoke to us. The current medication can only delay the progression of the disease. It cannot reverse it. If this continues, the strain on the child's heart and lungs will only get heavier. The first thing Xu Zhangqi asked about was the money. That 500,000 yuan must be almost gone by now, right? Xu Hai added coldly. Have you figured out how you're going to pay it back? That money wasn't a loan, Xu Ming said. It wasn't a loan, Guiyu Manru interrupted. What? Did it just fall from the sky then? Xu Zhangqi stood before everyone, pointing a finger at my face as he yelled, Chen Zuang, you liar.
You've ruined my daughter and my granddaughter.
I suppressed my anger.
Dad.
Keep your voice down. Don't upset the child. You think you're worthy of calling me dad? Just then, the ward door was pushed open. The doctor entered, followed by several specialists. I have some news. The doctor looked toward us. A team of specialists from a top international heart and lung center is about to launch an advanced intervention program here. It combines gene-targeted therapy with the reconstruction of pulmonary microcirculation. Combined with precise targeted regulation, there is a chance to completely reverse the condition. He paused for a moment. Qianqian's vitals happened to meet all the criteria. Xu Meng suddenly gripped my hand. Her eyes were red. But we must start the treatment process immediately. The initial cost is 1 million yuan. I turned and walked out of the ward. At the end of the hallway, I called Gu Weidong. Don't worry about the money anymore. He told me that Professor Robert was someone he personally invited from Zurich. Has reviewed your daughter's case and said it's better than expected. The surgical outcome should be ideal. Thank you. I'm the one who should be thanking you. He paused for a moment. My wife and daughter have found a protector in you, Mr. Chen. I will remember this favor. I hung up the phone. I headed back to the payment counter. By the time I returned to the ward door, I could hear Xu Zhangqi's voice from inside. See, the moment money is mentioned, he disappears. Meng, as long as you get a divorce, the Xu family will take care of this. Xu Meng's voice was very soft, but incredibly firm. Mom, Dad, I appreciate the offer, but it's really not necessary. Zuosheng already paid another million yuan deposit the day before yesterday. The room fell silent for several seconds. A nurse pushed the door open to prepare for surgery. She mentioned casually, the child's father just paid another million. It's for post-operative care and imported targeted medications. I stood at the door. I looked at Xu Zhangqi, Guiyu Manru, and Xu Hai. All three of them were frozen in shock. The red light outside the operating room was on. Xu Meng leaned against my shoulder. Her body was trembling slightly. I took her hand. Professor Robert is a world-renowned expert in pulmonary hypertension. Has performed 27 of these surgeries. Every single one was a success. Everything will be fine. Xu Hai walked over with a dark expression. Chen Zuisheng, just how much money did you borrow from President Liu? I looked up at him.
My business is none of your concern.
2 million yuan. Even if the Xu family sold our house, we couldn't cover that. He turned to Xu Meng. Sis, tell me the truth. Xu Meng was just about to speak. Xu Zhangqi strode over and pointed right at my nose. Why are you asking him? He's only good at lying and gambling. He turned to Xu Meng. Meng, Dad currently has 1 million yuan in savings. As long as you agree to a divorce, I'll transfer this money to you immediately. But tomorrow morning, I was planning to invest this money into the pension mortgage project led by Director Zhou. Guiyu Manru stood nearby and explained, the annual return is at least 30%. This is an internal opportunity within the retired officials circle. It's a 10-year contract. After 10 years, not only will the company return the house exactly as it is, but there will also be additional returns on the capital. Director Zhou already said it. This is a national pilot project. There are only a few spots available. Your mom and I figured, let the money make money. In the end, it'll all be left to you kids anyway. I looked at Xu Zhangqi. Dad, the model you just mentioned, is mortgaging real estate to a third-party company in exchange for pension funds, right? Xu Zhangqi froze for a moment. His face clearly showed disdain. My old superior personally vouched for it. It's a legitimate company contract, and I've already had a lawyer look it over. What do you know? This is a new scam that's popped up in the last 2 years. These so-called professional companies are usually just shell corporations. Their registered capital is only a few tens of thousands of yuan. Sure, they'll pay the pension on time for the first few months. But by the time people realize what's happening, both their houses and their money will be completely gone. Director Joe is either being scammed himself, or, well, I haven't even finished.
Bullshit.
Xu Zhengqi flew into a rage. Our lifelong connections and networks. Is it your place, you drunkard, to point fingers at them? The contract is in black and white. You think the government wouldn't regulate it? I think you're just jealous.
Dad.
Xu Meng suddenly stood up. Her voice trembled. Take your project and go. I don't need your money anymore. Whether Qianqian lives or dies, I'll bear it alone. Xu Zhengqi's face turned pale. He pointed at his daughter, speechless for a long time. Finally, he flung his hand down.
Fine.
Don't you dare regret this? Gay Manra's eyes were red as she sighed. Shu Hai wanted to say something but stopped. The whole family turned and left. The area outside the operating room suddenly fell dead silent. Xu Meng slumped down onto the bench. Tears fell silently from her eyes. I gently wrapped my arm around her shoulders. 4 hours later, the operating room light turned off. The attending physician walked out. A smile bloomed on his face. The surgery was a great success. She needs to be monitored in the ICU for 48 hours. But the post-operative prognosis is very optimistic. Xu Meng's legs gave out. I caught her just in time. She covered her face. Tears streamed through her fingers, but this time they were tears of joy. 2 months later, Qian was cleared for discharge. Her complexion was much rosier, although she still needed medication and regular checkups. She could already run and jump around. To celebrate her new lease on life, we made a reservation at a newly opened high-end steakhouse. When she was in the hospital, I promised her that once she got better, I'd take her to eat the best steak ever. The atmosphere in the steakhouse was very elegant. Qian excitedly swung her little legs in her chair. Xu Meng helped her spread her napkin. All the dishes had been served. I was just about to cut the steak when a sharply dressed young man walked past our aisle. He casually glanced over, and his eyes stopped on Xu Meng. He suddenly froze. Looking at Xu Meng, a look of surprise crossed his face. Soon after, it morphed into a meaningful smirk. He took a few steps closer. His gaze swept over me and Qian, lingering on Qian for a moment longer. Finally, his eyes returned to Xu Meng's face. I heard you got married, and this is... Xu Meng's fingers tightened slightly. This man was Zhou Feng, the blind date Xu Meng's parents had tried so hard to set her up with back in the day. Seeing him, Xu Meng's body visibly stiffened. Zhou Feng. Xu Meng's voice was a bit unnatural. What a coincidence. Zhou Feng turned to me, sizing me up from head to toe. The scrutinizing look was blatantly obvious. He held out his hand.
You must be Mr.
Chen.
A pleasure.
Is this your kid?
She has gotten so big. I stood up and shook his hand. He intentionally squeezed a bit harder. I didn't flinch, just looked at him calmly. Since it's such a coincidence, you wouldn't mind if we joined you, right? Zhou Feng said, taking advantage of the situation. He turned and introduced the heavily made-up woman behind him. Hyping! This is an old friend of mine, Xu Meng and her husband. Meng, this is my girlfriend. He emphasized the words old friend and girlfriend with heavy implication. Whipping's eyes quickly swept over Xu Meng, finally landing on Xu Meng's clothes. A look of smug superiority appeared on her face. She smiled. Sister Xu,
Right. What a coincidence.
let's sit together. Under the table, Xu Meng gently grabbed my hand. I squeezed her hand back. I smiled at Whipping. Calling her sister Xu is too polite. You look much more mature than my wife. Whipping's face stiffened. Zhou Feng ordered a few expensive dishes, then looked at me. Mr. Chen, where do you work these days? I just run a small business. I replied calmly. A small business is good too.
Lots of freedom.
Zhou Feng turned to the waiter. Bring us a bottle of 2015 Montrachet white wine. Let it breathe first. He rattled off the wine's name fluently, then looked toward Xu Meng. Meng, I remember you didn't drink much before, but this restaurant's white wine paired with seafood is truly a masterpiece. You should try a little. Whipping immediately chimed in.
That's right.
Feng is very particular about his food and drinks. This bottle probably isn't cheap, is it? On the surface, she was asking Zhou Feng, but her eyes darted toward Xu Meng. Zhou Feng feigned nonchalance. It's all right, as long as it pairs well with today's meal. That's what matters. The wine was quickly brought over. The waiter, following proper etiquette, poured a little wine into Zhou Feng's glass for him to taste. Zhou Feng gently swirled the glass, took a sniff, took a sip, let the aftertaste linger in his mouth for a moment, and then nodded. It's good. He put on quite a show throughout the whole process. The waiter was about to pour wine for everyone. I raised my hand and gently stopped him. I picked up the wine glass in front of Xu Meng and said to the waiter, please change this glass. This glass hasn't been chilled long enough. It'll affect the fruity aroma and mineral notes of the Montrachet, especially its relatively delicate structure. The waiter was stunned. He hurriedly apologized and went to get a new glass. I took the new glass, inspected it carefully, and then signaled that he could pour the wine. The calm facade on Zhou Feng's face began to crack. Xu Meng looked at me in astonishment. She picked up her glass and carefully took a small sip. Zhu Feng cleared his throat. Mr. Chen seems quite knowledgeable about wine glasses. However, the characteristics of the Montrachet region are actually more prominent. It achieves a balance between the elegance of Pouligny and the richness of Chassagne. I gave a faint smile. The vintage of this bottle is decent, but if you really wanted to pair it with Today's seafood, then actually, the Corton from the neighboring estate, the Corton Charlemagne Dry White, the 2014 vintage would probably complement the structure much better. Zhou Feng's expression faltered. His face darkened as he changed the subject. Meng, I started my own landscaping company 2 years ago, specializing in auxiliary projects for major real estate developments. It's hard work, sure, but the income is pretty good. He held up 2 fingers and wagged them. He Wiping immediately chimed in. Feng is being too modest. He makes over 2 million yuan a year. You know the Xingrong Group, for their high-end real estate properties. We're the ones handling all the landscaping. She looked toward Xu Meng, pretending to care. If you two ever want to buy a house, just come to Feng. He's very close with a lot of developers. He can definitely get you the lowest internal price. I saw Xu Meng's lips press tightly together. Zhou Feng looked at me, pretending to be generous as he waved his hand.
Hyping, don't say that.
Meng, it really is time for you guys to upgrade from that old house of yours. If you need help, just say the word anytime. I can get you the internal price. It'll definitely be hundreds of thousands cheaper than the market rate. Xu Meng's fingers clenched tightly under the table. I gently held her hand. No need. If we want a discounted house, I have my own channels. Zhou Feng clearly looked unconvinced. This isn't the time to act tough. I heard money's been pretty tight for you two lately. Saving hundreds of thousands is real money. Why let your pride get in the way? He Wiping immediately echoed him. Exactly. Feng is really close with the bosses at the development companies. All it takes is one word from him. Wouldn't it be better to use the money you saved to buy some nutritious food for your kid? The place you guys are living in right now.
Yikes.
We genuinely just want what's best for you. His gaze swept over Xu Meng's clothes. Xu Meng's face flushed red. She was about to speak up, but my hand gently held hers back under the table. I picked up my water glass and took a sip. The anger in my heart began to flare up. Today was a day to celebrate my daughter's new lease on life. I didn't come here to listen to you two put on a double act. I was just about to tell them to get lost. Mr. Chen. A slightly surprised voice came from behind. We looked over and saw Liu Xingrong striding over from the private rooms, a genuine smile on his face. I was a bit surprised. When I came in, I saw the Wall of Fame and noticed a photo of him with the owner. I didn't expect to actually run into him. President Liu, you're here. Zhou Feng sprang up like he was on a spring, knocking his chair over with a clatter. A loud crash rang out. His face was full of sycophancy. He bowed and reached out with both hands to greet him. President Liu, what a coincidence. Zhou Feng from the landscaping company. At your company's appreciation banquet late last year, I even offered you a toast. Do you remember me? As he spoke, he even shot us a smug glance. Liu Xingrong frowned slightly. He clearly didn't remember this guy, but his eyes quickly swept past Zhou Feng and landed on me. Out of politeness, Liu Xingrong still reached out and shook his hand. His tone was indifferent. Hello? Just a light handshake like that. But Zhou Feng looked like he'd just downed a shot of Mao Tai. His cheeks flushed red, and his spine straightened up. However, Liu Xingrong almost immediately withdrew his hand and turned toward me. He strode right past the dumbfounded Zhou Feng and extended his hand to me. Hello, Mr. Chen. What a coincidence. Ever since our last meeting, I've been wanting to get in touch with you, but I was afraid of interrupting your family time. Running into you today must be fate. I stood up and shook his hand.
Hello, President Liu.
Long time no see.
I saw Zhou Feng standing to the side, his eyes wide as saucers. He looked like he'd been struck by lightning, rooted to the spot. The eager smile on his face hadn't even faded yet, now mixed with sheer astonishment. His expression was indescribably ridiculous. He Wiping didn't know who Liu Xingrong was. She only saw her boyfriend being brushed aside, while a fruit seller like me was chatting and laughing with this distinguished man. She pursed her lips and muttered just loud enough to be heard. Wow. Nowadays, even fruit sellers can talk real estate. What a joke. The moment those words left her mouth, the atmosphere instantly froze. Liu Xingrong's smile vanished. His gaze swept over He Wiping, then back to me, his eyes carrying a questioning look. I let go of his hand and said calmly, "They're old acquaintances of my wife. Just ran into them. They're quite enthusiastic too. Heard we wanted to buy a house and insisted on getting us an internal discount for your project." Liu Xingrong was a sly old fox. He understood the situation the moment he heard it. A smile reappeared on his face, but it was now laced with tact and a hint of coldness. He looked at me, his voice booming. "Oh, my brother?
Listen to what you're saying.
He patted my arm. With our relationship, if you're buying a house from me, Why even talk about discounts? His gaze shifted to the dumbfounded Zhou Feng and he weeping. His smile remained unchanged, but his tone carried a casual, condescending air. My brother's sister-in-law and the little one too. He looked at Qianqian kindly. Whichever project or house of mine you have your eye on, just say the word. He waved his hand, decisively. I'll just give you one. Those words were like a thunderclap. I saw Zhou Feng's face turn deathly pale in an instant. His eyes bulged as if they were about to pop out of his head. His mouth hung open and his body swayed. He wiping was completely stunned. She looked at Lu Xingrong, then at me, and then at her boyfriend's shell-shocked state. She opened her mouth but couldn't utter a word. When Liu Xingrong brought us into his private room, the 3 senior executives inside were clearly taken aback. Liu Xingrong enthusiastically introduced me. This is Mr. Chen Zuang, my benefactor. The 3 executives stood up and nodded in greeting, but their eyes couldn't hide their doubt.
What kind of benefactor is this young?
And he brought his wife and kid along. Liu Xingrong personally poured tea for me.
Brother, thank you for the heads up last time.
The Kuihu Tiandi project increased in value just like you predicted. Profits are up by 30%. The board of directors just decided to go all in on that area for the next 2 years. I set my teacup down and said calmly, President Liu, the subway extension has been finalized, but Ninghai's focus for the next 5 years won't be in the east.
What?
The 3 of them exclaimed in unison. Director Wang of marketing frowned. Mr. Chen,
What do you mean by that?
we've conducted detailed surveys. The land reserves in that area are abundant. Plus, with the support of the subway line, it's definitely a value depression. Director Zhou of the investment department added, the city government's work report also mentioned, expanding the urban framework to the east. The policy direction is very clear. Vice President Zhang didn't say anything, but his eyes clearly showed suspicion. Liu Xingrong leaned forward, waiting for my next words. I looked him straight in the eye. Everything you guys said makes sense, but you've all missed one crucial variable, the anti-corruption campaign. The private room instantly fell silent. The new mayor was transferred from the Nanchang New District of Linxi. That place just went through a massive personnel shakeup last year. If his first fire isn't aimed at cleaning up the bureaucracy, how is he supposed to establish his authority? I lightly tapped my finger on the table. The eastward expansion involves too many things. Land use rights transfers, demolition compensation, project bidding. The water is too deep. During this sensitive time, he won't touch it. On the contrary, my voice was full of certainty. Hell, choose the path of least resistance. The direction that's easiest to generate political achievements. I pointed my finger. The renovation of the old neighborhoods in the southwest, and the expansion of the riverside area, property rights. They are very complicated. As a result, no one dares to casually meddle in it. It has the foundation of a township area, and the advantage of riverside scenery. As long as the policy leans slightly in that direction, its value will instantly skyrocket. As for the east, I shook my head. Right now, that place is like a pressure cooker. Anyone who jumps in could get trapped under the lid, unable to escape. They won't be able to budge for 3 to 5 years. As soon as I finished speaking, the whole room was dead silent. I saw the expressions of those 3 senior executives freeze on their faces. Liu Xingrong's hand, holding his tea, stopped in midair. His eyes shifted from shock to sudden realization. He suddenly recalled that at a banquet a few days ago, a certain leader had casually mentioned upgrading the old neighborhoods. That's also a direction. I turned my head and caught Xu Meng's gaze. Her eyes were wide open, looking at me in utter astonishment.
Shocking.
Truly shocking, Liu Xingrong muttered, repeating it to himself. Then, he slammed his teacup down and suddenly stood up. He walked around the table, picked up the teapot, and personally poured me more tea. If we only consider the economics, without taking politics into account, then it'd truly be a reckless fool. Brother Chen, you've taught us an incredibly important lesson today. I saw the 3 senior managers take a sharp breath. Since when had Liu Xingrong ever been this humble with anyone? You flatter me, Brother Liu. I smiled. I was just speaking my mind. Please forgive me if I said anything out of line. Just speaking your mind. Liu Xingrong shook his head. Every word you said is worth its weight in gold. Actually, gold doesn't even cut it. Those words are worth tens of billions. Liu Xingrong sat back down, his eyes gleaming. You've done me such a massive favor. I can't just take it for nothing. Everything I promised outside still stands.
What kind of house do you 2 want?
I'll gift you one. Under the table, Xu Meng suddenly squeezed my hand. There is no need for a gift. I shook my head. I'll buy it. Where do you want to buy? Take your pick. I'll give you the absolute lowest price. I smiled. I want the southeast zone, the stalls at the Wanjiahui wholesale market, and a small apartment in Wenshin Jiyuan right next door. Around 80 or 90 square meters will do. I saw everyone freeze in shock. The southeast zone was a remote plot of land the company hadn't fully developed yet. It was just filled with supplementary buildings, low-tier properties that basically made no money. Are you messing with me, brother? Liu Xingrong frowned. That place is way too remote. Let me give you a high-end Riverview apartment at Jinbi Haiyan. I still shook my head. I'm in the fruit business. Being near the wholesale market suits me better, and having a house right next door makes daily life easier. Lu Xingrong stared at me for a few seconds. Suddenly, he laughed. A somewhat helpless but highly appreciative smile. All right, if you're dead set on buying it,
I won't stop you.
let's do this. He slapped the table. Pick whichever stall you want. I'll give it to you at the cost price of 100,000 yuan. If you offer even a penny more, I'll get mad at you. 100,000 yuan. That was practically giving it away. I raised my cup in agreement. Deal. Brother Lu, thank you. The 2 teacups clinked lightly. I could feel it. Xu Meng's eyes were glued to my face. She looked at me, then at the 3 senior managers who were still dumbfounded. Her lips parted, but in the end, she didn't say a word. After making an appointment with Lu Xingrong to check out the commercial spaces tomorrow, we headed home. Xu Meng stopped by the fruit stall first. She really wanted to upgrade our little stall into a wholesale dealership at the big market or supermarket. I let her clean up the odds and ends of the stall first, while I carried Qianqian home. Just as we entered the residential compound, I was stopped by Auntie Huang, who was walking her grandson.
Oh my.
Qianqian, last time you were playing with Xiaobao. What did Grandma tell you? Kids need to be obedient. If you don't listen to me, you'll get sick. Remember hearing these words. A fierce anger flared up inside me. Whether my daughter was a good girl or not, wouldn't I know best?
Did she get sick because she was naughty and disobedient?
Bullshit.
I looked down. Little Qian was clearly terrified, shrinking back behind me. Qian, I said clearly. From now on, when you're outside, no matter who makes you uncomfortable, just come tell Daddy. Daddy will protect you. With that, I turned to leave. Hey now, don't be in such a rush. She chased after me. I heard Qianqian's illness cost a fortune. Are you guys planning to sell your house? I stopped in my tracks. Who told you that? The whole neighborhood is talking about it. If you're really selling, let me buy it. We're neighbors after all. Just don't make the price too steep, all right? As she spoke, she dug into her grandson's dirty pocket, pulled out a piece of candy, and tried to shove it into Qianqian's mouth. Have some candy. I grabbed her wrist, snatched the candy away, and tossed it aside. The house is not for sale. Stop listening to nonsense. With that, I turned and headed upstairs. Behind me, her curses rang out. You're just a family-ruining loser. What are you acting all high and mighty for? Serves you right for being dead broke. After Xu Meng came home, hearing it was Auntie Huang. Her face darkened. Shez, the biggest gossip in the neighborhood. Don't let her get to you. We didn't pay it any mind, but I never expected that idle gossip could stir up such a storm. The next evening, I was playing with Qian when Xu Meng's phone rang. She picked it up, listened for a moment, and her expression completely changed. Mom, what are you saying? We are absolutely not selling the house. She hung up. She looked at me, her brows furrowed tightly. My mom said Auntie Huang bumped into them at the supermarket. She told them we were planning to sell the house. My dad is furious. I was just about to explain. When the phone rang again, it was Liu Xingrong's secretary calling to confirm the time for viewing the shop tomorrow. After hanging up, I saw Xu Meng staring at me. She hesitated to speak.
What's wrong?
Nothing. She shook her head, then added, my dad is very stubborn. If he actually believed Auntie Huang,
He's definitely going to do something about it.
I held her hand. As for the house, everything will be cleared up once we finish the paperwork tomorrow. She nodded, but the worry on her brow didn't fade. What I didn't know was that at this very moment, Xu Zhengqi was tearing his house apart looking for the property deed. Found it. He tightly gripped the dark red booklet. Targeting this house, huh? His eyes were filled with malice. Isn't that what he's after?
Fine.
I'll give him exactly what he wants. Guillaume Manru stood beside him, her eyes red. Old Xu, if you really do this?
What about Meng Meng? What about Meng Meng?
Xu Zhengqi cut her off. Shez been completely bewitched by that bastard. If we wait until Chen Zuisheng gets his hands on this house, then she and the kid will truly have nowhere to live. He stuffed the property deed into his jacket. Gritting his teeth, he said, I'm getting this done tomorrow. Once the reverse mortgage paperwork is finalized, this house will have absolutely nothing to do with them anymore. Unless Chen Zuisheng gets the hell out, and Meng Meng agrees to a divorce. Otherwise, they can forget about ever living in this house. Guillaume Manru opened her mouth to say something, but ultimately stayed silent. Outside the window, the night was pitch black. The lights in the residential compound went out one by one. During breakfast, Xu Meng looked very happy. I could feel her excitement about going to see the shop space today. Qianqian swung her little legs and asked her mom, are we going to have a super big fruit shop from now on?
That's right.
Xu Meng's voice was gentle. Qianqian can eat whatever she wants. Yay. The fragrant aroma of porridge mingled with the smell of fried eggs. Simple, yet peaceful. But it didn't last long. Bang, bang, bang. Heavy, urgent knocking echoed from the door. Xu Meng went to open it. Xu Zhengqi and his wife stood outside, their faces pale with anger. Mom, Dad, what's wrong? Sorry to interrupt your little house-selling meeting. Xu Zhengqi marched straight through the door, glaring daggers right at me. Selling the house? Xu Meng was stunned. Giyu Manru, her eyes red, pointed at me. Chen Zuang, are you drowning in debt? And that's why you came up with the idea to sell the house. Do you have no shame at all? I put down my chopsticks.
Mom, Dad, you've misunderstood.
I don't owe any money and am not selling the house.
Shut your mouth.
Shu Zhengqi roared, cutting me off. Is there a single word of truth that comes out of your mouth? He turned to look at Xu Meng, his voice rising sharply. Meng, you have to divorce him. Divorce him right now. He's 2 million yuan in debt. He's even about to sell the house. If you don't divorce him, are you planning to drag Qianqian out to sleep on the streets? Xu Meng panicked.
Mom, Dad,
You've got it all wrong.
None of that is true. Who have you been listening to? Do we even need to hear it from anyone? Giyu Manru burst into tears. The whole neighborhood is talking about it. Meng, my heart aches for you. Just divorce him and come home to us. Our home will always be open to you. We don't need you to interfere. Xu Meng's voice dropped. How we live our lives. We know best. We don't need you worrying about it. What do you know? Xu Zhengqi bellowed. I think you've completely lost your mind. Give me a straight answer today. He glared fiercely at Xu Meng, enunciating every single word. Are you going to divorce him or not? Xu Meng bit her lip tightly, saying nothing. Not divorcing him, huh? Fine. His chest heaved with fury. I'm taking this house back. Whether you two end up rich or poor, it has nothing to do with the Xu family anymore. Consider it as if I never had a daughter. Those last few words pierced Xu Meng's heart like an awl. I saw her sway on her feet, her face deathly pale. Tears welled up, but she stubbornly refused to let them fall. She looked at her father's twisted face, and her weeping mother who didn't even dare to look at her. Then, she wiped her tears. Her voice trembled, but it was incredibly clear. I'm not divorcing him. If you want to cut ties, then so be it. We won't live in this house anymore. Well, move out today. Xu Zhengqi's eyes widened. If he were seeing his daughter for the very first time. You're really something? He was shaking with rage. I'm coming to take the house back tomorrow. With that, he grabbed Giyu Manru and stormed off. Giyu Manru stumbled, looking back over her shoulder. Meng, how did you become like this?
your father is only doing this for your own good.
Xu Meng screamed at his retreating back. Hez the one who said he wanted to cut ties. Hez the one who said he wanted the house back. I agreed to it.
Isn't that being obedient?
Giyu Manru's face turned ugly as well. Just keep letting that Chen guy brainwash you. You don't even want your own parents anymore.
I'll just pretend I never gave birth to a daughter like you.
The door slammed shut. A few seconds later, Xu Meng threw herself into my arms. The sobs she had been holding back finally burst out. How could they say such things? She cried so hard her whole body shook. I held her tightly, gently patting her back. Qianqian hugged her mom's legs, sobbing softly. Mommy, don't cry. Once Xu Meng had calmed down, I wiped away her tears and looked into her red eyes. I glanced around the cramped, rundown house. We can't stay here forever anyway. It's time we had a home of our own. She looked up at me. Don't worry about the money. I took her hand.
Let's go look at the shop.
She nodded, then went into the bedroom and brought out a dress, a pale blue one. I recognized it immediately. It was the nicest outfit she had bought since we got married. She usually couldn't bear to wear it. Watching her try on that old dress, my heart suddenly ached. There was still over 3 million yuan in the card. It was time to buy her and our daughter some decent clothes. Let's go. Xu Meng smiled at me after changing into the dress.
Let's go see your big business venture.
Just as we got downstairs and reached the street, 2 honks sounded beside us. Beep, beep. Turning around, the window of a black Mercedes rolled down, revealing Liu Xingrong's smiling face. Brother? Sister-in-law? Hop in. I paused for a moment, then smiled. This Liu Xingrong. He didn't even bring his driver. He actually drove here himself to pick us up. The car rolled toward the southeast zone. On the way, Liu Xingrong chatted, Brother, Wanjiahui was originally built just to use up leftover materials. The location is a bit remote. It's neither in the new development zone nor the old town. He turned onto a somewhat run-down street. This area is called the resettlement zone. Quite a few people from the old town were relocated here. The roads are wide and the houses are brand new. But the supporting facilities haven't caught up yet. The subway line hasn't even opened. I looked out the window and said, once people move in, they have to live their lives. The demand will gradually increase. I knew very well in my heart, thanks to the demolition and resettlement. In a few years, this place would become the most dynamic grassroots economy in Ninghai, one of the most bustling underground hubs, Wanjiawei being the earliest to form, and the largest comprehensive wholesale market in the area. Would become a massive magnet. The stalls here might look like nothing special right now, but soon enough, getting a spot would be harder than reaching the sky. I wouldn't dare say it could feed 3 generations, but to keep our family of 3 well-fed and warmly clothed for a lifetime, it would be more than enough. The car stopped outside the market. Xu Meng looked at the empty parking lot and the deserted entrance. She frowned and whispered, Zuisheng, is this place really okay? Lu Xingrong said sincerely, "Look, brother, I still have a few small stalls on the Xinjiang Road pedestrian street. The location is absolutely prime. Let me set you up with one of those." I shook my head. The consumer demographic on Xinjiang Road doesn't suit us, but here is perfect. Don't let its current emptiness fool you. In the future, this place is going to boom beyond imagination. On Liu Xingrong's face, a smile bloomed, but his eyes revealed his doubt. I casually dropped a hint.
Brother Lu.
Don't be in a rush to transfer your shares in Wanjiahui. If any minor shareholders want to pull out, buy up all their shares. In the future, this southeast zone and Wanjiahui will be a treasure trove laying golden eggs. Every inch of land will be worth its weight in gold. Lu Xingrong's eyes narrowed. Brother, are you serious? I looked him straight in the eye. Whether it's true or not depends entirely on whether you're willing to believe it. Lu Xingrong didn't say anything else. He looked around the empty outskirts of the market, lost in thought.
Let's go inside and take a look.
He regained his cheerful demeanor and led us inside. When the property manager saw Lu Xingrong, he immediately jogged over. Chairman Lu, show us the commercial spaces, especially the prime locations. The manager eagerly led the way, taking us to a prime spot near the main entrance. President Lu, Mr. Chen, please, take a look at this unit. He pointed to a space that was significantly larger than the rest. This is one of the largest spaces in our market. The location is absolutely prime. The area is spacious, and it's great for displays. Whatever you sell here, it'll look incredibly high-end. This space really wasn't bad. Very bright and well-ventilated. Lu Xingrong looked over at me. Brother, are you happy with this one? Xu Meng's eyes lit up, waiting for my decision. I shook my head. I'm not taking this one. Huh! The manager was stunned.
Look, man.
Huh! The manager was stunned.
Look, man.
This is the best location we have.
I shook my head, my gaze shifting deeper into the market. Let's go check out the side entrance. The side entrance? The manager was confused. There is barely any foot traffic over there. It's a bit remote. Just lead the way. We walked to the northwest side entrance. This area was near the freight corridor and right on the edge of the parking lot. Foot traffic was extremely sparse. Most of the spaces near the side entrance were empty. The glass was covered in a thick layer of dust. My eyes landed on an inconspicuous stall. It wasn't directly facing the side entrance, but was recessed slightly inward. There was also a load-bearing pillar right next to it.
Right then, I pointed at it.
Seeing this stall, Xu Meng couldn't help but speak up, looking at the deserted surroundings, then at the stall hidden behind the pillar. Her face was full of doubt. Lu Xingrong also frowned. Brother, this location is way too remote. The lighting is poor, and that pillar blocks the entire view. Why don't we go back to the front and look around some more? No need to look anymore, I said firmly. This is the spot.
Why this spot?
Xu Meng asked softly. I lowered my voice. Because of the feng shui. Good feng shui. I pointed at the load-bearing pillar. Look at this pillar. In feng shui, it represents a solid backing. The stall being recessed inward helps gather energy and store the wind. Once wealth flows in, it won't easily scatter. I pointed toward the freight corridor outside the side entrance. The passing vehicles represent motion. Our spot represents stillness. Motion and stillness combined, creating endless growth. Xu Meng was dumbfounded hearing this. Lu Xingrong didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and didn't try to persuade me anymore. Alright, since you've got your heart set on it. It was him. He told the manager, take this unit and get the contract ready. He didn't even go back to the office. Instead, he had the manager bring the contract to the Mercedes. Right there in the car, Tu Meng and I signed the lease agreement, a 30-year term with an option to renew. The total rent was 100,000 yuan. At this price, it was basically a gift. Tu Meng held the contract, giving the most relieved smile Shed had all day. Zua Sheng, where are we going now? The shop is settled, so let's look for a house around here. If we find one we like, we'll buy it. At the mention of buying a house, Tu Meng's eyes lit up.
That's right.
Buying a house. Lu Xingrong chimed in. Brother, you want to buy a house nearby?
Easy.
There's Yue Jintai nearby, and Dongmen Mingzhu. They're both developed by my company or partners. Whichever one you set your sights on, it'll give you the lowest price possible. I shook my head. No need for those places.
Let's just go check out Wenshin Jiayuan.
Wenshin Jiayuan. Lu Xingrong was stunned. That's a resettlement area from a few years ago. It was sold out and handed over a long time ago. Now it's mostly secondhand sales. I knew what he meant. He could influence the price of new houses. But for secondhand ones, it's hard to directly affect the price. I smiled slightly. I knew whether it was new or old didn't matter. As long as the location was right. Lu Xingrong made a phone call. Less than 15 minutes later, a white commercial van drove up. The door opened. A man in his 40s stepped out. He had a bit of a beer belly. President Lu, what brings you here in person? He trotted over, reaching out both hands. Then he turned to us. My name is Zhu.
Zhu Fulai.
Fulai Real Estate. Whatever President Lu asks, I'll handle it. Lu Xingrong nodded slightly. Old Zhu. This is Mr.
Chen, my brother.
He wants to see some houses in Wenshin Jiayuan. Got anything suitable? Of course, of course. Zhu Fulai patted his chest confidently. Since President Liu spoke up, the brokerage fee is waived. Consider it a gesture of friendship. There are 4 units for sale in Wenshin Jiayuan right now. We went to see them one by one. The first 3 were quite ordinary. The last one was on the top floor. As soon as the door opened, sunlight flooded the entire room. It was a shell unit with concrete floors and bright, clean white walls. 2 men walked into the living room. The view at the end suddenly opened up. Outside was a terrace, about 90 square meters in size. Zhu Fulai stepped closer to explain, Mrs. Chen. Technically, this terrace is a common area, but look at the layout. This is the only unit on the top floor. Outsiders can't just wander up here. If you enclose the entrance, it's essentially your own private garden. Tu Meng didn't say anything, just stood in the sunlight, looking out at the open space. I stepped forward. If we enclose this area, we can put up a trellis for climbing roses over there, and build a flower bed for hydrangeas here. In the southeast corner, we'll put a rattan table and 2 chairs. On summer nights, we can sit here, drink tea, eat watermelon, and watch the stars. Tu Meng turned her head to look at me. She didn't say a word, but her eyes were slightly red. The house was 120 square meters. With the terrace, the total usable space was 180 square meters. I looked at her. Meng, do you like it? She didn't answer immediately, just looked around for a long time. Then, she gave a slight nod. Lu Xingrong immediately spoke up. Brother, let's lock this one in. Don't worry about the renovations. I'll take care of it. He waved his hand dismissively. This project was developed by my company. We have all the blueprints ready. I'll have someone enclose the balcony, open a door from the living room, install a spiral staircase outside, and add a glass roof on top. We have the materials in the warehouse. I'll get it done for you while I'm at it. Tu Meng asked, how much will that cost? Oh, please. Lu Xingrong laughed brightly. Sister-in-law, don't mention money to me. A little decoration like this is just a small favor. He had decided I was someone worth befriending. I didn't stand on ceremony. All right.
Thank you, Brother Liu.
Zhu Fulai was about to finalize the deal for this unit. President Zhu, I turned to him. I'll take all 4 units.
What?
Zhu Fulai was stunned. Tu Meng whipped her head around, looking at me in disbelief. Lu Xingrong was also surprised. Brother, do you think this space isn't enough? I have a 300 square meter villa over at Yuejingtai. There is no need for this. I smiled and waved him off.
Brother Liu.
I really like this location. I looked out the window. It's close to Wanjiahui, within walking distance. There is a kindergarten right next door for Qianqian's school. And Meng's business, it's very convenient. Tu Meng tugged on my sleeve. She lowered her voice. We don't need to buy 4 houses, honey, even though there was still over 3 million yuan in the account. I took her hand. Trust me, we won't lose money on this. She opened her mouth to say something, but eventually suppressed her worry. I turned back to Zhu Fulai. President Zhu, please prepare the contracts for all 4. The total for all 4 was just a bit over 2 million yuan. There was still over 1 million left in the account, enough to start the shop and keep the capital flowing. The contract signing went smoothly. Moving was even smoother. Lu Xingrong made a phone call. Half an hour later, the moving truck arrived. 3 young men finished moving everything before noon. The top floor needed renovations, so we stayed temporarily in a unit on the 5th floor. The previous owner had never lived there. It only needed a simple cleaning. With a new set of curtains, the house was sparkling clean. Tu Meng placed the pothos plant shed raised for years on the windowsill. Chan Qin kicked off her shoes and ran around happily on the new floor. She ran from room to room, like a little bird chirping with joy.
Mommy, is this room mine?
Daddy, are we gonna live here from now on? Tu Meng sat on the sofa that Lu Xingrong had just gifted us. He said it was a floor model from the warehouse, but it was actually brand new. Even the plastic wrap hadn't been removed. She looked around, watching her daughter run and play. Her gaze was a bit dazed. Yesterday, she was still squeezed into that dark, damp, dilapidated house. This morning, she was still in a heated argument with her parents. Now, she was sitting in a spacious, bright new home. She already had a commercial stall under her name, and 4 houses under both our names. That top-floor apartment with the terrace was waiting for us to turn it into a garden in the clouds. It happened so fast, it felt like a dream. Sunlight streamed in through the window, in her slightly moist eyes. Tiny glints of light reflected. I saw how moved my wife was. In that moment, I felt that spending over 2 million yuan was worth every penny. 0.2 million yuan for 4 houses. I knew deep down just how valuable this investment was. In just 1 year, the educational landscape of Ninghai would undergo a seismic shift. A former leader in the capital, originally from Ninghai, was about to retire from an important position. He had lived a life of integrity, but for this one time, he took the initiative to propose a plan. He wanted to leave something behind for his birthplace, not just a school in name only, Not just a donation for construction, but something real. Bringing the best educational resources from the capital, the North China affiliated primary school, to Ninghai, and the location chosen for the branch was the vacant lot right next to Wenxin Jiayuan. For the first enrollment of the North China branch in Ninghai, everyone would be fighting tooth and nail to get in. The school district boundaries perfectly encompassed the entire Wenxin Jiayuan area. Overnight, this resettlement area that everyone looked down on was completely transformed. It became the most sought-after top-tier school district housing in Ninghai. Property prices skyrocketed like a rocket. The old neighbors who received resettlement housing years ago accidentally became filthy rich for the second time. Some sold one house, and it was enough for their son's down payment in Shanghai. Some took the old house they'd lived in for half their lives and traded it for cold hard cash. The elderly couple then traveled the world. For those 2 years, all of Ninghai talked about Wenxin Jiayuan. Some were admiring, some were green with envy, some regretted not buying sooner, some were stomping their feet in frustration. Every kind of emotion was on display. And right now I have 4 units in my hands. When the price hits its peak, I'll choose the right time to sell 3 of them, keeping 1 to live in. By then, forget about never worrying about money again. Even if Meng Meng decided to retire and enjoy life right now, she would live a life of leisure and comfort. Of course, if I wanted to make even more, with the information and capital I have, I could easily sweep up a few more nearby neighborhoods, but there's no need. Having been reborn once, I've come to realize that money is something you can never finish earning. Money is something I spent my whole life on, building a $100 billion fortune from scratch. But in the end, what did it matter? In this life, having enough money is fine. My daughter's smile, my wife's gaze, the peaceful moments when the family gathers for a meal. These are the things that are truly real to me. Tu Hai sat in his car for nearly 20 minutes. The phone clutched in his palm was burning hot. Finally, he started the car. His father had roared so fiercely over the phone that if he really didn't show up, he feared he might never be able to go back to that home. The car wove through a few turns and stopped under that familiar old apartment building. He took a deep breath, went upstairs and knocked on the door. No one answered. He knocked again, but still no movement. He went back downstairs and ran to the fruit stall at the end of the alley. The stall was empty and had been cleared out. Even the old electronic scale was nowhere to be seen. The auntie selling vegetables next door poked her head out and recognized him.
Oh, little two? Looking for your sister? Yes.
Did my sister's family move away? They moved out around noon. The auntie's voice was loud and clear. A big truck came. A few young men were working away, and in no time they cleared everything out. I was wondering about it myself. They've been here for over 10 years. How could they just move like that? Tu Hei's head began to throb.
Where did they move to?
I wouldn't know that.
The auntie shook her head. Didn't your sister tell you? Tu Hai didn't answer. He stood before the empty fruit stall, clutching his phone motionless for a long time. All of this was what Tu Meng heard over the phone later, and what I pieced together from her fragmented stories. That night, her phone rang. She answered and listened for a few moments. Her expression changed immediately. Without a word, she handed the phone directly to me. I took the phone. I heard Tu Zhengqi's commanding voice on the other end. He sounded incredibly arrogant. Chen Zuang, listen carefully. That house was allocated to me by my unit. The ownership is in my hands. I've already invested it into a reverse mortgage project for my retirement. I'm going to process the paperwork tomorrow. Unless you divorce Meng Meng. Don't even dream of staying in that house anymore. I held the phone in silence for 2 seconds. Then I said, Dad, we've already moved out. The other end went silent for 2 seconds. Moved out. Yes. We moved this afternoon. The house is empty now. You can come and take it back whenever you want. Another long silence. Then the call was cut off. I handed the phone back to Tu Meng. She looked at me, her eyes rimmed with red, but she didn't cry. Her voice trembled slightly. They really mortgaged the house.
Yeah.
She lowered her head. She gripped her phone tightly. She didn't say a word for a long time. Then she looked up at me and forced a smile. Forget it. We weren't going back anyway. I nodded and pulled her into my arms. The fruit wholesale supermarket at Wanzhou was renovated and opened for business. In the first month, business wasn't very brisk. Tu Meng would sometimes look at the empty shop with a hint of worry in her eyes. I wasn't in a hurry. There was still money in the account. We owned the shop. There was no rent to pay. The top floor apartment was still being finished. Life is meant to be lived day by day, not in a rush. A month later, Liu Xingrong called. He said the renovations were complete. We went over for the final inspection. The moment we stepped inside, Tu Meng stood frozen in place. The wall between the living room and the balcony had been completely knocked down. Liu Xingrong had actually installed a set of floor-to-ceiling sliding glass doors. Right now, the doors were wide open. Sunlight from the balcony flooded in, filling the entire room with a golden glow. The balcony had been transformed. The concrete floor was covered with rot-resistant outdoor wood. Flower beds were built in the corners, planted with climbing roses and blue plumbago. The trellis was already up. Although the vines hadn't covered it yet, Spots of green were already starting to climb. In the southeast corner sat a round rattan table, along with 2 chairs. On the table, there was even a rustic ceramic vase, with a few sprigs of hydrangeas. A glass dome covered half the balcony. It was transparent, letting the sunlight through, while keeping the rain out. Tu Meng walked in slowly. She looked around for a long time, then covered her mouth with her hand. Her eyes were red with emotion. Chiang Qian was the one who rushed in cheering. She had been downstairs, being shown around by Lu Xingrong's assistant. She had been looking at the apple tree, but when she turned around and saw her parents, and realized her mom was gone, she ran upstairs on her short little legs. As soon as the door opened, she was stunned. Then she let out a wow. She dashed into the living room and spun around. Then she dove onto the rug and spun again. The apple green sofa, the round table, the glass cabinet, everything made her exclaim, "Mommy, it's so beautiful here." I looked at the two of them. Suddenly, the multi-billion-dollar contracts and corporate takeovers from my past life. The moments of glory under the spotlight, none of it compared to even a fraction of this moment. And the good news just kept coming. 2 months later, the fruit wholesale supermarket, which had been quiet, suddenly saw a boom in sales. Part of it was thanks to Tu Meng's beauty live streamer image. This was my idea, I told her. Meng, every day the customers in the shop are new. Why don't you try live streaming?
You don't even need to try hard to sell.
Just set up your phone and record how you usually sell fruit, how you arrange the stock, and how you chat with the customers. Tu Meng was a bit bewildered at the time. Live stream? Me? I don't know anything about that. You don't need to. Like I said, just be yourself. I prepared 2 outfits for her. Not the flashy kind of live streaming clothes, just simple linen shirts and solid colored aprons. Her hair was tied back in a quick bun. She looked fresh and clean. We didn't use any of those weird filters for the lighting, just a warm-toned ring light shining on the fruit stall. The backdrop was the stall at Wanjiahui. Fresh seasonal fruits were neatly arranged on wooden shelves, with handwritten price tags. They even had Chiangqian's scribbled handwriting on them. In the first week, the livestream only had an average of 3 to 5 viewers. Tu Meng wasn't in a rush. When no one was talking, she just lowered her head and organized the stock. Occasionally, she'd look up and smile at the camera. She'd say things like, "The strawberries are very sweet today," or "the blueberries just arrived." By the second week, one evening, she was scrolling through her phone and saw a farmer selling blueberries directly from their orchard in the neighboring province. He was squatting on the edge of the field, sighing deeply with every breath. Tu Meng watched the video over and over. First thing the next morning, she called the supplier. She placed an order for 500 pounds right then and there. She didn't write a script or anything. She just displayed the fruit on her live stream. She simply mentioned that these blueberries were delicious, and that life isn't easy for the farmers who grow them. She just wanted to help out however she could. That night, hundreds of people suddenly flooded into the live stream room. The comments started flying by. "Shes, so beautiful. Is she really buying these just to help the farmers? I just placed an order to support a seller with a heart." Tu Meng was stunned. She started answering questions, completely flustered. Her face turned bright red. The next day, the platform began pushing massive traffic her way. As soon as she added the support farmers tag, the viewers poured in like a dam had burst. By the 3rd day, orders were jumping constantly, no longer one by one, but page after page. The order printer whirred from morning until night. It hummed incessantly without a single break. It wasn't just online either. The physical store was absolutely exploding. Roadwork began at the main entrance of Wanjiahui. They were renovating the city's underground pipe network. The construction notice estimated a duration of 8 months. With the main gate closed off, vehicles couldn't get through. The crowd that usually headed for the main street shops suddenly swarmed toward the north side entrance. And that north entrance was exactly where Tu Meng and I had our shop. Trucks arrived one after another, forming a long line right in front of my store. Unloading in the front, loading up in the back. Mangoes had just hit the shelves on this side, while on the other side, wholesalers were already waiting with invoices to place orders. "Boss, give me 5 more crates of Jinhuo mangoes. Are there any shine muscats left?"
I'll take 10 crates of cherries.
Buying in bulk, remember? In the span of a single day, Tu Meng and I were worked to the bone. Forget having a meal. We had to fight just to find a second to grab a sip of water. When we got home, Tu Meng collapsed onto the sofa. She didn't even have the strength to lift her hand and brush her hair. The next day, I quickly asked Lu Xingrong for help. We hired 5 more people. Only then were we finally able to catch our breath. "Little brother, I found the people you were looking for." Lu Xingrong's voice boomed loudly over the phone. I wiped my hands and tucked the phone against my ear.
Brother Lu.
Sorry to trouble you with this. I'm always happy to help the boss." He paused for a moment. Then he started listing them off in detail. 1 truck driver, has a veteran, has 8 years of experience driving heavy vehicles, Class A license, and a perfectly clean driving record. Then there are 2 young women. One studied e-commerce. She used to work at an MCN company. She knows all the tricks for boosting live stream traffic. The other one studied communications. She's sharp and has an adorable look. She's a sweet talker, perfect for keeping the energy up in the stream. He lowered his voice. Little brother, I'm truly impressed by you. How did you know exactly what was going to happen? That roadwork in front of the gate? Was that really from reading feng shui? I smiled. Brother Liu? You're in real estate. Whether feng shui is real or not. Don't. You know the answer to that better than I do? There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then a hearty laugh broke through.
Right.
Some things only exist if you believe in them. Little brother, I truly admire your vision. I didn't offer any further explanation. The main gate would be under construction for 8 months. I did indeed know about the underground pipe network beforehand. In my past life, it was for this very reason, that the North Gate became the primary entrance. That once deserted corner was transformed into prime real estate by the sheer flow of people and vehicles. Back then, a feng shui master even made a special trip there. He pointed at the pillar at the North Gate and spoke. He called it the Dragon Pillar suppressing the water. And the shop next to it was the reclining tiger hiding the wind. The rumors made it sound incredibly mystical. And now, I was reaping the full benefits of this location. But even I didn't fully expect that Tu Meng's livestream would become such a massive hit. A barefaced beauty supporting local produce. 340 barefaced beauties supporting agriculture. 220 27 039 097 40 33% 238 1980 2380. Boosting domestic consumption. 223 80 10 2700 340 348 89 23 203 980. Boosting domestic consumption.
Rural revitalization.
Tu Meng checked every box that the brands wanted to promote. The traffic poured in like a flood, all focused on her. Sometimes during a rare, quiet moment, she would sit dazed by the display shelves.
Zuisheng. I did the books today.
Last month, between online and offline, we made 1.37 million yuan. That's a profit of 210,000 yuan. Her expression was a bit vacant. Sometimes she wakes up early in the morning, staring at the ceiling, wondering if this is all just a dream. Fearing that when the dream ends, she'll still be in that old cramped dormitory, with Qianqian sleeping against the wall. And her husband still hasn't come home. She trailed off, unable to continue. I took her hand in mine. It's not a dream. And even if it were, it's a dream we built with our own 2 hands. She looked up at me. Her eyes were slightly rimmed with red. I had to find a way to distract my wife. Meng, making money isn't the most important thing for us right now. Right now, making money isn't our top priority. She tilted her head and looked at me. I said Qianqian has a follow-up appointment at the hospital next month. Plus, she's starting to get homework from preschool now. Tu Meng was silent for a few seconds. Are you saying I'm not spending enough time with her? I'm saying that we aren't short on money anymore. I looked directly into her eyes. What we're missing is being there to watch her grow up. She took a deep breath. I know, but I just can't seem to stop. Sometimes I feel like if I stop, all of this will just vanish. It won't go anywhere, I said with a smile. But she suddenly frowned. She said, seriously? Chan starts primary school next year, the nearest public school. The quality of teaching there is very mediocre. The good schools in the city either require residency, or you have to pay a massive choice fee. Houses near the top schools in the city center, even the old run-down ones, are 40 to 50,000 yuan per square meter. A small 50 or 60 square meter flat would cost over 3 million yuan. She spoke faster and faster, as if something was driving her to keep racing forward. No, I have to earn a bit more. Seeing her like this, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Meng, don't worry. Our daughter is very blessed, and blessed people can afford to take it easy. She was stunned for a moment. Clearly, she didn't quite understand what I meant. I couldn't tell her about the North China Practice Elementary School just yet. The time wasn't right. Once that news is officially announced, half of Ninghai will go absolutely crazy. The fruit wholesale business was like a rolling snowball, getting bigger and bigger with every turn. The company registration was complete. I was the one who chose the name, Mengsheng Fruits. When Tu Meng saw the business license and saw our 2 names side by side, a faint smile touched her lips. It's official now. I suggested to my wife that we should offer higher wages. She nodded and adjusted the salaries up a level. Operations at the shop became much smoother. The 2 of us finally didn't have to be at the store every single day, especially the live stream room. The young staff members picked things up very quickly. Tu Meng only appeared during specific time slots, but every time she went live, the comment section would explode. The title, Fruit Beauty. I'm not sure when it started, but it spread far and wide. That afternoon, Tu Meng's phone rang. After she hung up, she told me, the management of the old market notified her to come and collect her deposit. How much? 2,000 yuan. I laughed. That's not even half of what we make in a day now. Still, we can't just leave it.
Why give the management a freebie?
She gave me a playful glare. Then she started putting on her shoes. 20 minutes later, Tu Meng was standing at the entrance of that familiar alley. The rundown little fruit stall had a new owner. The new sign they'd put up looked very bright. She stared at it for a few seconds. She shook her head and turned toward the management office. All of this was what she told me. After she returned home, inside the management office, as soon as Manager Zhou saw her, He became so enthusiastic, it was like he was a different person. Once the paperwork was done, Manager Joe pulled her aside to chat. He asked where we were living now. Tu Meng blurted out, near Wanjiahui, in Wenxin Jiayuan. Manager Zhu's eyes nearly popped out of his head. Wenxin Jiayuan. You guys are living in Wenxin Jiayuan. Tu Meng was confused.
Why? What's wrong?
Manager Zhou didn't answer. He turned around, found a document, and slapped it down in front of her. It was a copy of an official document with a red stamp. The title was very long. Tu Meng's eyes caught a few keywords. North China Affiliated Elementary School. Site selection, Hainan Gaoyu Complex. School District Division, Naihuang Yixia District.
Wenshin.
Her gaze moved down one line. There it was. Wenxin Jiayuan has been included in the school's enrollment zone. Below that was some small print. The announcement date was 3 days ago. What does this mean? Tu Meng didn't react immediately. Sister Zhou, who was standing nearby, started rambling. Your area is a top-tier school district now. The North China Practice Elementary School is moving there. That's the best school in all of Ninghai. Those old houses in Wenxin Jiayuan that nobody wanted before. Guess how much they're going for per square meter now? Tu Meng's mouth hung open, but she couldn't find the words. 130,000 yuan. Sister Zhou held up her fingers. 130,000, and people are still fighting to buy them. She assumed Tu Meng was just a renter. Her face was full of pity. Oh dear, if only you'd bought a place there sooner. Renting is just paying off the landlord's debt for them. Those owners are making a fortune now. Think about it. 130,000 per square meter. Even a small 100 square meter flat is worth over 10 million yuan. Tu Meng froze. Over 10 million yuan. Wenxin Jiayuan, 130,000 per square meter. The complex where she owned 4 houses. 4 whole houses. She told me later that at that moment her legs went completely weak. She had to lean on the table just to slowly sit down. Sister Zhou was startled.
What's the matter?
Your face is as white as a sheet. Are you feeling all right? Tu Meng shook her head. She opened her mouth to speak, but her voice was trembling. Sister Zhou, how much did you say the houses in Wenxin Jiayuan are worth now? 130,000 yuan.
Why?
Tu Meng didn't say another word. She just sat there, dazed, staring at the stack of documents on the table. She didn't move an inch. Then, she dialed my phone number. When my phone vibrated, I was in the shop checking the inventory list. The screen showed "Dear Wife," so I picked up. There was no sound from the other end.
Meng Meng. Zuisheng.
Wenxin Jiayuan. It's up to 130,000. I froze. The North China Affiliated Elementary School is right next door. The school district policy has been implemented. 130,000 yuan per square meter. I leaned back against the shelf. I was actually a bit surprised. In my past life, this news wasn't announced until a year later. In this life, it's half a year early. Meng Meng, come home first. Well, go check with the real estate agent. She gave a soft okay and then paused. Zuisheng, when you bought those 4 houses, did you already know something? I smiled. How could I have known? If I had known beforehand, I would have borrowed money to buy up the whole complex. Why would I even bother opening a fruit shop? There was silence on the other end for a few seconds. Then she gave a soft She hung up and rushed back, but someone else had already beaten her there. A black Mercedes was parked right in front of the shop. Lu Xingrong strode inside. Little brother, you've heard about the school district news for Wenxin Jiayuan, right? I set the order form down. I just found out. I was away on business. I came straight here the moment I got off the plane. He leaned in close and lowered his voice. Little brother, tell me the truth. Did you know about this policy beforehand? I let out a slow smile. Brother Liu, if I could predict school district changes, why would I still be in the fruit business? Lu Xingrong stared at me for a few seconds. Finally, he let out a loud laugh. Little brother, there are plenty of lucky people in this world, but nobody is ever as lucky and precise as you are. I just smiled and didn't reply. When Tu Meng returned, her face was still flushed. The 3 of us went straight to Fly High Real Estate. We could tell something was up the moment we arrived. A massive crowd was gathered outside. The doors were nearly bursting from the pressure of the people. Inside, it was even more packed. Are there any units left in Wenxin Jiayuan? I don't care about the layout.
I'll pay cash.
Zhou Fulai squeezed his way out from the crowd. He was drenched in sweat. His eyes lit up the moment he saw me. He rushed over to greet us. Mr. Chen, you're here. The customers nearby all stared in confusion. Why was this agency boss acting like had just seen his own father? I smiled. Manager Zhou, business seems to be going well. It's all thanks to you. Zhou Fulai bowed and scraped. He led us into a small private lounge. Mr. Chen, are you here to sell today? Zhou Fulai's eyes were sparkling. The units in Wenxin Jiayuan, those ones? Tu Meng bit her lip. The one on the 5th floor and the one on the 3rd floor. We're keeping the penthouse for ourselves. As for the last one, let's just wait and see. Zhou Fulai nodded repeatedly. He started doing the math. His pen scratched across the paper as the numbers appeared. He pushed the paper toward me. Mr. Chen, the fifth floor unit is 98 square meters. A conservative estimate would be 12.5 million yuan. The third floor unit is 95 square meters. That's about 12.3 million. Together, that's 24.8 million yuan. I saw Tu Meng's fingers tremble slightly. I nodded. Fine, let's go with that price.
Zhou Fulai kept nodding.
Then he remembered something. Mr. Chen, about the commission. I laughed. Manager Zhou, you can't waive it this time, can you? Zhou Fulai was stunned for a moment. A complex look crossed his face. Mr. Chen, last time you told me that you'd let me earn the commission back next time. I thought you were just being polite, so I didn't take it to heart.
But you actually came back.
He looked at me with an intense, burning gaze. Lu Xingrong's eyes swept over us. Tu Meng also turned to look at me. I gave a small smile and put my arm around Tu Meng's shoulders. It has nothing to do with me. It's because my wife is as kind-hearted as she is beautiful. Hearing that, Tu Meng's face turned bright red. She gave me a playful little smack. My phone vibrated. 24.8 million yuan had been deposited into the account. I took a quick glance and tucked the phone back into my pocket. But Tu Meng couldn't stop staring at her own phone screen. She checked that string of numbers over and over. She even pointed at them with her finger, counting the digits several times before finally looking up.
Zuisheng.
Am I a multimillionaire now?
I nodded.
That's right.
But I don't feel any different. She frowned, looking completely bewildered. The numbers are in the phone. The house is still right there. The shop is still as busy as ever. How did I suddenly become a millionaire? Lu Xingrong, standing nearby, burst out laughing. Sister-in-law, a wealthy person has to live like a wealthy person. That's the only way to really feel it. Little brother, take my advice. Move into a big villa. My company has a project over at Quihu. We just released a batch of detached villas. The environment is great, and they're very private. They have gardens and garages. I'll save the best one for you. Consider it my way of saying thank you. He spoke with total sincerity. I understood exactly what he was thinking. Now that the school district news for Wenxin Jiayuan was out, the value of the houses Head hoarded and his shares in Wan Jiahui had skyrocketed even more than mine. His profits from this were no less than if Head developed 2 entire real estate projects. He wanted to build an even closer bond with me, but I shook my head. I appreciate the offer, Brother Liu, but we aren't moving. Tu Meng, standing beside me, nodded vigorously. Exactly. I'm not tired of that sunroom in the penthouse yet, and the roses on the balcony just started blooming. I have to go out and look at them every morning. It would be such a shame to leave them behind. When she said those words, her voice carried the kind of excitement only found in young girls. I looked at her, and the resolve in my heart grew even stronger. In my past life, there wasn't a single luxury villa I hadn't lived in, but those massive, empty houses, walking back and forth alone, the echoes were louder than any human voice. Now with the three of us together, huddled under the warm glass dome on the rooftop, sipping tea and watching the stars. It was better than any extravagant mansion could ever be. Seeing us both shake our heads, Lu Xingrong didn't push the matter. Instead, he immediately pivoted to a new idea. All right, if you don't want to move, then forget it.
But what about a car?
Right. A car.
With the way your business is going now,
You really ought to have a decent vehicle.
you'll be dealing with clients later on. You can't keep using a delivery truck to get around forever. He paused for a moment, then added another point. Besides, my sister-in-law is the fruit shishi now. If She's seen taking the bus, her fans definitely won't stand for it. That last comment made Shuming burst out laughing. She glanced at me, her eyes showing a hint of hesitation. I thought about it for a second and nodded. All right, there is an auto show next week.
Let's go take a look.
Half an hour later, we returned to Wanjiahui. Before the car even came to a full stop, I sensed something was wrong. A crowd had gathered in front of the shop. What was going on? Were they customers or just onlookers? Several men were blocking the entrance, hands on their hips and cigarettes dangling from their mouths. Through the hazy smoke, they radiated pure malice. My heart sank. I pushed the car door open and strode forward, shoving through the crowd. When I saw the state of the shop, my blood boiled. The live stream tripod was smashed on the floor, and the phone screen was shattered into pieces. The fruit baskets that were usually neatly arranged had been kicked over and trashed. Ogan tangerines were rolling all over the floor. The female employees were cowering in a corner, their faces pale with terror. Right where the live stream usually took place, the spot where Shumang always sat, was a middle-aged man. He had a buzz cut, a gold chain as thick as a thumb around his neck, and was sitting with his legs crossed. He was casually rotating 2 feng shui walnuts in his hand. He squinted at me, not even bothering to stand up. You, the boss? I glanced around the shop, my voice flat. What do you want? The buzz cut man tisked, slamming the 2 walnuts onto the table. Let me introduce myself. The name's Brother Yong. I run a trading company, and am looking to expand lately. I've got my eye on this spot of yours. He stood up and got right in my face, looking me up and down. This place is nice. Right by the north gate and set up for live streaming. Business must be booming, huh? I didn't say a word. He continued. I'll give you a price. 50,000. Take it and go open your shop somewhere else. I'm taking over this lease. He patted my shoulder. Kid, give me some face here. Pack up and get out today. I looked down at the spot where he had patted me, then looked back up. Brother Yong, was it? This shop isn't for sale. Brother Yong glared at me. Kid, maybe you didn't hear me right. I said, give me some face. Are you gonna take it or not? I let out a cold laugh. Just then, the car door behind us opened. Lu Xingrong strode over. Who's causing trouble here? Brother Yong turned around, his eyes narrowing. A sycophantic smile instantly plastered onto his face. Oh, look at that! Chairman Lu.
What brings you here?
Chairman Lu, what brings you here? Is this little shop under your protection? Lu Xingrong walked up to my side and scoffed. Protection. I'm the one who developed this entire Wanjiahui complex. It's my property. I'll give it to whoever I damn well please. He took a step forward. Who the hell do you think you are? Coming onto my turf to play gangster? Brother Yong's expression shifted rapidly, his jaw tightening. In the end, he had no choice but to swallow his rage. President Liu, why put it like that? I just came here to talk business. Harmony brings wealth, right? Talk business. Lu Xingrong pointed at the smashed tripod on the floor, and the bruised fruit scattered everywhere. Is this how you talk business? Brother Yong gave a forced laugh but didn't answer. He turned his head to look at me, his eyes full of venom. Fine. Kid, since President Liu is here today, I'll give him face. He walked to the door, then looked back one last time. But you'd better think long and hard about whether someone can protect you for the rest of your life. He waved his hand dismissively. The men followed him and vanished into the crowd. Silence returned to the shop. The young girls couldn't hold it back anymore and burst into tears. Xu Meng rushed in from outside and threw her arms around me. Are you okay? I'm fine, I said, patting her back while staring out the door. Lu Xingrong spoke up. Listen, kid, that guy, Lu Yong, specifically targets successful shops. He keeps a pack of thugs under him. He only left today because of me. But He's not the type to let a grudge go. In the future, you'll have to, I know. Brother Lu, thank you for today. I didn't say anything else. I just quietly knelt down and picked up the sugar tangerines scattered on the floor, one by one, carrying them back to the kitchen. The next day, the police station suddenly called me. Is this Chen Zuang? Your driver, Sun Jian, just got into a fight with some people. He's in the hospital right now. I froze. A fight. It's about old Sun. You should come down here. Xu Meng and I rushed to the hospital. We found the ward, and when I pushed the door open, I saw old Sun lying in bed. His head was wrapped in gauze, and one of his eyes was a bruised purple mess, swollen so badly it was just a tiny slit. A woman was sitting on a chair by the bed, her eyes red from crying. That must be his wife. 2 police officers were standing by the window. One was taking notes, while the other watched me with his arms crossed. When old Sun saw us, he struggled to sit up. I moved quickly to press him back down.
Don't move. What happened?
Old Sun opened his mouth, but no words came out. His wife's tears started flowing again, her voice choking up.
Boss Chen.
My husband would never go looking for trouble. He's an honest man. I know. I looked at old Sun. Brother Sun, take your time. Tell me. Old Sun took a ragged breath and began to recount what happened today. He had just finished loading a shipment of dragon fruit. As he was driving out of the market gates, a group of men suddenly swarmed out from the sidewalk. They were armed with clubs and bricks, without a single word. They started smashing the truck. Some of them even climbed into the back and threw all the freshly loaded dragon fruit onto the road. Crate after crate was smashed to pieces on the pavement. Old Sun was a veteran. He jumped out of the truck and managed to take down 2 of them, but there were just too many of them. No matter how good he was at fighting, he couldn't fend off 7 or 8 guys surrounding him. He took a heavy blow to the back of the head. Before he passed out, he saw them destroying the rest of the goods and slashing the truck's tires. By the time he woke up, he was already in the hospital. When old Sun finished, he gritted his teeth so hard. His jaw muscles bulged with fury. I walked out of the room with the 2 officers.
Officer, about this.
I said, handing over a cigarette.
Officer, about this.
I said, handing over a cigarette. The older officer took it. He put it in his mouth but didn't light it. That driver of yours, is he a veteran?
Yes.
He's never been the type to start trouble. The officer nodded. Those guys were fast. By the time we got there, all that was left was a pile of smashed fruit. Their license plates were covered up, and the surveillance cameras only caught a few blurry backs. We couldn't see any faces. So what happens now? A case has been opened, the officer said, glancing at me. But you know how it is. Unless there's a major organized crime sweep, cases like this are hard to solve. I understood. I walked back to the door of the ward. Xu Meng happened to be coming out. She had already given old Sun's wife 8,000 yuan. She told her to let old Sun focus on recovering. The shop's losses didn't matter. He should only come back to work when he was fully healed. During his recovery, his full salary would still be paid. Old Sun's wife followed her out, clutching Xu Meng's hand. 2 moved to even speak. As we walked out of the hospital gates, Shu Meng asked me what the police said. I told her the case was filed, but catching them would be difficult. She frowned. Then what do we do? Should we ask Liu Xingrong for help? I shook my head. No need to involve him. The law has its ways, and the underworld has its own rules. Don't worry.
I'll handle this.
I called Gu Weidong. At noon the next day, a black commercial van pulled up in front of the shop. The driver got out and opened the door. With the utmost respect, Shu Meng watched from a distance, looking a bit uneasy. I didn't explain much and just got in the car. The van twisted through several alleys and stopped at the entrance of an old neighborhood. The alley was deep, lined with old-style residential buildings, with peeling walls. We walked all the way to the very end. There was a noodle shop there. The sign was famous, though the characters had almost completely faded. I pushed the door open and went in. There were only 5 or 6 tables inside. Only one person was sitting at the very back. Weidong was hunched over, eating noodles. When he saw me, he pointed to the chair next to him and told me to sit. Want some? I glanced at his bowl. The color was dark and unappealing, and the noodles were unevenly cut. No thanks. He looked up at me. You're certainly blunt. If it's not good, why eat it? He stared blankly for a moment, then laughed. Chen Zuang, I can't tell if you're confident or just arrogant. He set his chopsticks down. But you're right. It's not good at all. But years ago, this stuff saved my life. I listened in silence as he told his story. During those specific years, my parents were persecuted because of their overseas connections. My sister and I were left with no one to care for us. We nearly starved to death. An old neighbor would bring us a bowl of these noodles every day. He poked at a few strands with his chopsticks, buckwheat mixed with elm bark flour. Hard to swallow, but it kept us full. Later, after I made it big, I went back to find that neighbor, but they had passed away long ago. He paused for a beat. But I still come here for a bowl every now and then, just to remind myself where I came from. I looked at the bowl of noodles and stayed silent for a few seconds. Brother Gu, let me say something that might be hard to hear. Eating well is the best way to honor the past. He looked up. You think eating like a pauper every day means you haven't forgotten your roots? I shook my head. That's just making yourself feel virtuous. If you really want to honor your roots, then eat the best food, wear the finest clothes, and live the best life possible. Do it so that the starving child you once were can see that we survived and that we're living better than anyone else. Weidong stared at me for several seconds. Fair point. He wiped his mouth. His expression returned to normal. Let's talk business. That Liu Yang is just a small fry, but the man behind him is Lai III from Changjiang Company. Lai III spent his early years in the underworld, but he's cleaned up his act and even got a seat on the District Political Consultative Conference. Guidong looked disdainful. I remarked, Hez already made it to shore, yet Hez still that arrogant. Hez not his own master. Guidong leaned back in his chair. Hez just a knife in someone else's hand. It's not that he wants to be arrogant, it's that, if he isn't, he'll be replaced by a sharper knife. I nodded. So, he hasn't truly made it to shore yet. Guidong smiled. I'll take care of this for you. Thanks. Don't thank me yet. He looked at me. Next week is my daughter's birthday. I'm planning a small party. Bring your daughter along. I looked at him. The father-daughter relationship is going well. I take it. A flash of tenderness crossed Gu Weidong's face. Thanks to your information. After I brought Nuanuan back, I've put a lot of effort into being there for her. I've put all my outside work on hold lately, just to stay home and play with her every day. He paused. She grew up without a father. Now she has one. But she doesn't have many friends. I want to introduce her to some kids her age.
How old is your daughter?
5. My Nuanuan is 6. Perfect. They can play together. He looked at me. Bring your wife and daughter over next weekend. I nodded.
Will do.
When I got home, Shu Meng was watering the roses on the balcony. I told her everything. When she heard, the watering can in her hand stopped midair.
Guidong.
The friend you mentioned last time.
That's the one. Shu Meng was clearly getting nervous.
What's his family like?
What should I wear?
What should Qian wear? Do we need to bring a gift? I couldn't help but laugh.
Meng,
Don't be so tense. She took a deep breath. I've just never been to an occasion like this. This Gu Weidong you keep talking about. I've heard you mention him a few times. He sounds like Hez from some prestigious, noble family. I thought about it for a moment. The patriarch of their family is indeed a Gu. They really are a prestigious lineage. Shu Meng's face went pale, but then I quickly added, as for Gu Weidong himself, he's the biggest black sheep in that house. We hit it off because we're both kind of good-for-nothings. Hez just a guy drifting through life. Shu Meng shot me a glare. I put my arm around her shoulder and told her not to overthink it. Tomorrow, I'll take you and Qian to buy some clothes. Then, Well, head to the auto show to pick out a car. Well, drive the new car next week. Well, show up in style and make you proud. They're really just an ordinary family. Maybe even a bit less well-off than us right now. She was amused by my teasing and gave me a playful swat. The next day,
Eat the most high-end women's boutique in the Ninghai shopping center.
I picked out a cream-colored dress for Xu Meng. She took the dress into the fitting room. A few minutes later, the door opened and she stepped out. I was stunned. The dress fit her perfectly. The cream color accentuated her porcelain skin, with her hair draped over her shoulders. She looked down at me shyly. In that moment, I suddenly remembered all the stars and models I had seen in my past life, but not one of them could make my heart race like this. "Does it look okay?" she asked softly. I didn't answer. I just stared at her. The sales assistant standing nearby whispered, "Ma'am, this outfit was practically made for you." Xu Meng pursed her lips and smiled, looking at herself in the mirror. Then she picked up the price tag. The smile on her face instantly froze. She turned around, her eyes wide with panic. "Honey, this one dress is 6,800 yuan. I handed my card to the assistant and pointed to another outfit on the rack.
That set and the skirt next to it.
Bring them all for her to try on. Xu Meng quickly grabbed my arm, lowering her voice. "It's too expensive." I ignored her and nodded to the assistant. "Go ahead." The assistant's eyes lit up and she hurried over to the racks. A few minutes later, the fitting room door opened again. She stepped out in a navy blue velvet gown. The plunging neckline fit her perfectly. The waistline was tailored with incredible precision. No need to try anything else. This light gray knit set, and that minimalist black dress too. Every single one looks amazing. It's not because the clothes are beautiful. It's because you look beautiful in everything you wear. Wrap them all up for me. After swiping the card, the employee handed back the card with both hands. "Sir, ma'am, let me package these for you." Just then, Qian tugged on my hand. "Daddy, I need to go to the bathroom." I leaned down to look at her. "All right, Daddy will take you." I turned to Xu Meng. "Wait here, okay? Just take the bags and keep an eye on our things. I'll take Qian to the restroom." "Well, be right back," she nodded. I led Qian toward the mall's restrooms. I only found out later that shortly after I left, two young women walked past the store. One of them happened to glance inside and suddenly stopped in her tracks. Cousin Xu Meng turned around and was stunned to see who it was. This girl, Zhao Yu, was Xu Meng's cousin, Lu Xiaoyu. Lu Xiaoyu hurried inside. She looked her cousin up and down. "It really is you. I thought I was seeing things." Xu Meng smiled. "What are you doing here?" "I have a dinner date with a classmate." Lu Xiaoyu's gaze lingered on her cousin, specifically on the dress she hadn't had time to change out of yet. "Cousin, are you buying clothes here?" Xu Meng awkwardly tugged at the hem of her dress. "No, I'm just looking around." Another girl beside her stepped in as well. She observed Xu Meng curiously. Lu Xiaoyu suddenly realized, "This is my cousin." "Cousin, this is my classmate. We're gonna grab a bite together?" "Nice to meet you." Xu Meng nodded to the girl. "Nice to meet you." Xu Meng nodded to the girl.
Well, head upstairs first.
"I'll call you later." Lu Xiaoyu pulled her classmate outside. As soon as they left the shop and turned the corner, the friend immediately pulled Lu Xiaoyue back. "Zhao Yue, your cousin is seriously rich." Lu Xiaoyu was stunned. "Rich?
No way.
Everything in that shop costs at least several thousand yuan." The friend glanced back. "I just saw a huge pile of clothes on the counter. She must have bought all of them. For real." Lu Xiaoyu slowed her pace. "I heard my wife ran into her cousin by chance. I didn't pay much attention to it." 2 days later, we went to a car show. Our goal was clear. Regarding the commercial vehicle, Xu Meng had already cautioned me on the way. "Hubby, let's not buy anything too expensive. Something around 100,000 to 200,000 yuan is fine." I nodded. Whatever works. In my past life, what kind of luxury car hadn't I driven? To me, cars were just a means of transportation. We entered the exhibition hall. We followed the crowd. As we passed the Volkswagen booth, Qian suddenly stopped. "Daddy, look, Daddy." She pointed at a car, her face full of excitement. It was a classic-style Beetle, pastel pink. Amidst a forest of cold metal machinery, it looked like a fairy tale that had lost its way.
It's so cute.
Qian tugged my hand. "This car would look great on mommy, and it suits me too." I looked down at her. "Do you like it?" The little girl nodded vigorously. I looked over at Xu Meng. She didn't say anything. She just quietly admired the car. Her gaze was incredibly gentle. Then she softly asked me how much it cost. I knew that look all too well. She clearly liked it but was afraid it was too expensive. She was secretly doing the math in her head. I waved over a sales consultant. "Hello, sir. This high-end Beetle model has a list price of over 300,000 yuan. There are special offers during the car show." Xu Meng lightly tugged my sleeve. "Hubby, it's too expensive." I ignored her. I said to the staff, "Do you have any in stock for immediate full payment?"
Yes, sir.
"The one in the showroom is available for immediate pickup." Xu Meng's grip on my sleeve tightened.
Hubby.
I turned to look at her. "It's rare for both you and our daughter to like something." She was stunned. She was speechless. The consultant stood by, watching. Their eyes were filled with admiration. But how can I meet clients in a car like this? She finally found an excuse. Then, well, buy another commercial vehicle. I said it as if it were the most natural thing. I'll drive the commercial one. I'll use it for business. This one will be a private car for you and Qian. She looked at me. Her eyes grew slightly red. Listen, the car for you and Qian is settled. As for my business car, you go ahead and pick it. The price and brand are up to you. Okay, she gave a slight nod. Then she led Qian toward the other booths. I stayed behind to handle the paperwork. Half an hour later, the procedures were finished. Just as I was about to find them, my phone rang. Meng's voice clearly sounded wrong.
Hubby, where are you?
Get over here. Quick. Booth number 6. What happened? They pushed Qian. Get over here right now. Those last few words were laced with anger and anxiety. I hung up and immediately ran there. When I arrived, a crowd had already gathered. Pushing through, I saw Meng half kneeling, holding Qian tightly. She was glaring at the person opposite her. Her face was flushed with rage. Qian was in her arms, her shoulders trembling uncontrollably. Opposite them was a woman, about 30 years old, wearing a black business suit, with an employee badge on her chest. The booth manager, she had her arms crossed. Beside her were several security guards.
What's going on?
I stepped forward. Meng saw me arrive, placed our daughter in my arms, then turned and lunged forward. Why did you push my child? She's only 4. Are you 4 years old too?
Ma'am, please.
First of all, this is our display area. We have the right to protect the exhibits. Second, the barrier is right there. Your daughter crawled in on her own. Third, she held up 3 fingers and shook them. I only gently stopped her. The girl didn't stand firm, so she fell. What does that have to do with me? If you keep making such a scene, it will damage the image of our exhibition area. I can have security escort you out. My daughter. The woman cut her off. If you feel wronged, then go ahead and file a complaint. Booth number 6. My name is Lena. I'm always happy to receive it. However, I must remind you, we deal with these kinds of complaints all the time. She spoke while glancing over Meng's face. Then she looked at Qian in my arms. She gave a soft chuckle. She's just a kid. A few bumps and scratches are normal. Just go home and comfort her. There's no need to cause a ruckus here. Looking for a payout. We have a legal team for that. She straightened her business suit. Her tone was full of arrogance. Furthermore, this is a high-end exhibition area. We only serve high-net-worth clients. Different levels of wealth naturally mean different levels of service. If your assets meet the standard. She leaned in slightly, stepping a bit closer. She lowered her voice, but ensured everyone around could hear. I'd even kneel and lick your shoes. The question is, are you worthy? After hearing Meng's explanation, I roughly understood the situation. My daughter saw that great moonlight car. She thought it would suit her daddy perfectly, so she wanted to go up and take a look. The barrier rope was set at an adult's height. The red rope was right at the top of Qian's head. She didn't notice it at all. That woman named Lena just pushed Qian down. I took a step forward and put my arm around Meng. I placed Qian back into her arms. I looked at Lena, my tone calm. Manager Lin, was it? You just said different statuses receive different services. I think that makes a lot of sense. The corner of Lena's mouth curled up. She thought I was backing down. I didn't even bother with her. I turned to look at the flustered employees. Near the display platform, there were 5 cars parked in a row on the platform. Lena had just mentioned one was already reserved. The other 4 were still available. I pointed at those 4. I'll take all 4 of these. What? Lena was stunned. The other employees were also dazed. I repeated myself 4 cars. Full payment. Issue the invoice. No one moved. I looked at them. What? Do you think I don't have the money? I pulled my bank card from my pocket and placed it on the nearby table. Then I pulled out a bank receipt, the one from swiping for the Beetle at Volkswagen earlier. With a thud, I slammed the receipt onto the table. This is the receipt from Volkswagen. You can take a look. A young girl with a ponytail hesitated, then walked over and picked up the receipt. She took one look, and her eyes instantly widened. She instinctively covered her mouth. Then she looked up at me. Her gaze had completely changed. Meng was no longer in the mood to be angry. She hurried over and grabbed my arm. Even if we buy, we're not buying from them. I pulled her down to sit. I patted the back of her hand. Trust me. When the paperwork was nearly finished, I suddenly leaned down. I took off one of Meng's high heels and tossed it in front of Lena. Lena stared at the shoe on the ground. Her face instantly turned as red as a beet. Manager Lin, I wonder if I've reached your standard for high-end customer service yet, I asked. Her lips trembled, but she couldn't say a word. The crowd around us was growing larger. Some were whispering. Others were holding up their phones to record. Seeing she had nothing to say, I shook my head. It seems your company's promise of service is still lacking. I turned to the girl with the ponytail who had just processed the car purchase. I'm returning these 4 cars. The girl was stunned. Sir, this? Lina's face was now deathly pale. During the car show, to boost sales, They promised unconditional cancellations for the first 2 days. Even after that, only a small deposit would be deducted. It's just that normal people wouldn't do this. No one is bored enough to buy and then immediately return, only to buy again. But now this regulation had become her death sentence. Just then, a familiar voice came from behind the crowd.
Brother, what are you doing here?
Lu Xingrong pushed through the crowd and strode in. I turned my head. Brother Lu.
What brings you here?
I came to look at cars. He walked over to my side, looked at the shoe on the floor, then at Lena, who was standing there in a daze.
What's going on?
I gave him a brief summary. After hearing it, Lu Xingrong's face darkened. His expression turned grim. He turned to look at the cars, his gaze stopping on the off-road vehicle. He paused for a moment. This one. He took out his phone to check something. He held it up in front of me. Is it this one? On the screen was a photo. It was exactly this off-road vehicle.
Even the angle was identical.
Brother M, the one who reserved this. You reserved it, that's right. I was planning to give it to you as a gift. He pointed at the car. Last time you said you didn't want to move, so I thought about buying you a nice car instead. I happened to take a liking to this one. It was supposed to be delivered tomorrow. He turned his head toward Lena. His gaze turned ice cold.
You're the one who pushed the child.
Lena's face went completely bloodless. Chairman Lu, I didn't know. Lu Xingrong ignored her and waved his hand. Cancel it. I don't want this car anymore. He took out his phone and made a call. Hello. Old Zhang. That dark blue off-road vehicle at booth 6. I'm taking it.
Cancel the other one.
Yes, exactly.
Cancel it right now. Lena was completely dumbfounded. Very soon after, a middle-aged man in a suit came rushing over. Sweat was pouring down his forehead. Chairman Lu, what happened? Lu Xingrong said, President Zheng, your manager is quite something. My niece just wanted to see the car, and she pushed her down. President Zheng's face turned pale. He turned to look at Lena. His gaze looked like he wanted to eat her alive. His gaze looked like he wanted to eat her alive. Lena opened her mouth. President Zheng.
You what?
From this moment on, you are no longer an employee of this company. Lena's legs gave out. She collapsed onto the ground, leaving booth number 6. I quickly put that unpleasantness behind me. Lu Xingrong walked beside us, chatting as we went. When we reached the lounge area, he suddenly stopped. My friend, what happened just now was partly because of me. Today, I absolutely must give you two a car.
Don't you dare argue with me?
I was a bit taken aback. Brother Liu, there's really no need. If you don't accept, it means you're looking down on me. His attitude was very firm. Then he turned to look at Shumeng. Sister-in-law? What do you say? Your husband isn't giving me any face. Your husband isn't giving me any face, so you have to give me some right. Shumeng was caught off guard and felt a bit awkward. She glanced at me. I gave a slight nod. We originally wanted to buy a commercial vehicle. Around 200,000 yuan. 200,000 yuan. Liu Xingrong's eyes lit up. That's nothing. Leave it to me. I'm the expert when it comes to commercial vehicles. I'll make sure to pick one you'll love. With that, he left immediately. After 2 steps, he turned back. What are you still standing there for? Let's go. Shumeng and I looked at each other. We didn't know whether to laugh or cry. We could only follow him while carrying Qian. Liu Xingrong knew his way around and led us straight to the Mercedes booth.
Right in the center of the display
was a silver commercial vehicle with an aerodynamic design. Beside it was a long-legged car model. Posing for photos, Liu Xingrong stepped forward. He didn't even glance at the model. He pointed straight at the car, this one. Then he waved over a staff member.
Write it up.
The long-legged model was clearly stunned. Her movements froze mid-pose. An employee jogged over to assist. Hello, sir. Are you sure you want this one? Positive, Liu Xingrong replied. Then he turned and started convincing Shumeng. Sister-in-law, listen to me. You can't go wrong. This car will absolutely meet all your needs. Mercedes is a top-tier brand. Driving it out will give you a lot of prestige. Commercial vehicles have plenty of space. It'll be perfect for picking up guests or taking the family out later. He spoke with great conviction. I glanced at the car. Then I looked at the spec sheet on the display stand. I couldn't help but laugh, Brother Liu. Do you know how much this car costs? He blinked. Around 200,000 yuan, right? Brother Liu, this is the Mercedes AMG line. I pointed at the spec sheet. It's not 200,000 yuan. It's about 2 million yuan. Liu Xingrong's expression froze for a second. Shumeng jumped in surprise. 2 million yuan. That's way too expensive. We can't. Brother Liu, this gift is far too valuable. We really can't accept it. Liu Xingrong quickly regained his composure. He started playing dumb. Didn't you just say it was 200,000 yuan? I must have misheard him. Seeing us both fall silent, he decided to play his hand. Fine. I admit it, I did it on purpose. But I couldn't bring myself to give a gift worth only 200,000 yuan. If I'm giving a gift, it has to be this one. If you two don't accept it, I'll just sit right here and refuse to leave all day. He plopped down beside us as he spoke. Looking at that rogue-like expression of his, I realized Lu Xingrong had made a fortune thanks to my intel, but he was never the type to just take without giving back. On the contrary, he always looked for ways to show his gratitude. This is someone worth knowing deeply. I glanced at Xu Meng, who was still politely declining. I stepped forward, patted her shoulder, and said, "Just take it." She looked up at me, a bit startled. I nodded. Seeing my nod, Lu Xingrong immediately jumped up from his seat. If he was afraid I'd change my mind. He waved directly at the staff. "Write up the order and charge it all to me. Do it right now." That weekend, I drove that Mercedes AMG to take Xu Meng and Qian Qian to Gu Weidong's daughter's birthday party. He walked over quickly to greet us. "Brother Zuosheng, sister-in-law, please come inside." He led a little girl in a white princess dress over to us. "Nuanuan, say hello to your uncle and auntie." The girl looked very delicate, but her eyes were a bit avoidant. She timidly greeted us, "Hello, uncle."
Hello, auntie.
Before I could even introduce her, Qian Qian's eyes suddenly lit up. She stepped forward on her own initiative. Taking Nuanuan's hand, she asked, "Is your name Nuanuan?" "Im Qian Qian. Let's go play." The two little girls held hands. They whispered something to each other and ran straight into the yard. Nuanuan was a bit stunned. She looked back at Gu Weidong. Guidong smiled and nodded. Only then did she give a soft okay. Xu Meng stood nearby, looking a bit awkward. She whispered to me, "Qian Qian."
Why is she being so rude?
I smiled. This is good. She's becoming more and more lively. She has the makings of a master diplomat. Guidong clapped his hands happily. This is great. It's wonderful. Ever since I brought Nuanuan back, I've felt she was far too introverted. She's always been off by herself. She refused to play with anyone. Now that she can play with someone her own age, it's truly wonderful. Hearing this, a look of doubt flashed in Xu Meng's eyes. She looked at me. I just gave a faint smile and didn't ask further. This was their private business. Guidong was very perceptive. He took the initiative to speak. "Brother Chen knows all about my situation. The child has been found and brought home, but her mother still hasn't forgiven me." I nodded to comfort him. "Just take it slow. Some things can't be rushed. It's best to just let nature take its course." After hearing that, he was clearly heartened. "Brother, hearing you say that puts my mind at ease." Xu Meng stood by, witnessing this scene. Her eyes filled with surprise. She didn't expect such a successful man to listen to me so intently. "I'll go check on the kids." With that, she walked toward the garden. Wait, Weidong took the opportunity to pull me aside. "Brother, come. Sit in the study for a bit." The study was on the second floor. As I stepped inside, I paused for a moment. An old man with graying hair was sitting there, holding a teacup and sipping slowly. "Old Master Gu." Weidong looked a bit embarrassed. "It's mainly my father who wanted to meet you. He was afraid you wouldn't want to come, so he didn't tell you in advance." I stepped forward to greet him. "Greetings, elder." Old Master Gu set down his teacup, stood up and nodded at me. "Young friend Chen,
Please, have a seat."
He personally poured me a cup of tea and offered it with both hands. "Young friend Chen helped me find my granddaughter. This old man must offer a cup of tea in gratitude, no matter what." I accepted it with both hands. "You're being too kind, elder. I didn't help Brother Gu without my own motives." Old Master Gu nodded. "I know it was for your daughter." He pointed toward Gu Weidong. "Wasn't he doing it for his daughter as well?" This was a good thing for both sides. He paused for a moment, his eyes sharp and piercing. "Of course, this old man wanted to meet you, young friend Chen. Not without my own motives either." I understood immediately upon hearing that. I set down my teacup. "Please, go ahead, elder." He spoke slowly. "I heard from Weidong that you are very proficient in the art of divination. So, I would like to ask you to read a fortune for this old man, since old Master Gu requested it." I couldn't refuse. Regarding the Gu family's affairs, I already knew a thing or two. The Gu family wasn't like other prominent domestic families. Their main influence was overseas. Years ago, when the domestic economy opened up and was in dire need of foreign investment and technology, old Master Gu seized the opportunity and brought in a great deal. Combined with his time studying abroad, he built relationships with several founding elders, helping the Gu family gradually enter the domestic market. Their business map eventually expanded into the political sphere. This background had its pros and cons. On one hand, it was hard to truly integrate. They were easily seen as outsiders. On the other hand, they maintained a certain prestige, free from the grudges of other factions. When other families expanded their interests overseas, they often needed the Gu family's help. Thus, everyone gave the old master a fair amount of respect. But there was one incident that caused the Gu family to offend a top-tier domestic family. Years ago, the Gu family donated a batch of antiques to a museum. A few years later, one of those items suddenly appeared at an auction. The old master assumed the museum had stolen and sold its own collection. He was furious. He insisted on a full investigation, but he didn't realize that the antique had been borrowed by a high-ranking veteran official. To investigate was to offend powerful people. In the end, Gu Weidong's older brother, Gu Weihong, chose to take a step back and drop the matter. This bit of history flashed through my mind. I looked at old Master Gu, nodded, and asked, "What would you like to know?" "About fortune and misfortune." He paused for a moment. "The future fortune of the Gu family." I pondered for a second. "Then please, Elder, write a single character." He picked up a brush and wrote the word ding on the paper. I looked at the character, then back at the old master. I understood clearly, but some things cannot be said directly. However, I could offer a few hints. I picked up the brush and wrote a poem beside it. "A golden tripod in dust and sand for 20 autumns. Why return to the east? Zhao shall rise without a care. Floating clouds hide the sun, but the storm must soon break. Just watch the river waters flow endlessly to the east." Old Master Gu looked at the poem, his brow furrowing slightly. He looked up at me,
A flash of disappointment in his eyes.
though he quickly hid it. He nodded calmly. "Many thanks, young friend Chen." He folded the paper. He spoke to Gu Weidong. "Prepare a gift of gratitude to thank young friend Chen on my behalf." I stood up and waved it off. "You're being far too polite, Elder. There's no need for gifts. It was just one character, hardly worth mentioning." With that, I turned to take my leave. Stepping out of the study, I knew exactly what he was thinking. He probably thought I was just being intentionally cryptic. I didn't mind. Some things are better left at that. Waking up early the next morning, Xu Meng went to the Wanjiahui fruit supermarket first. I was responsible for taking Song Qian to preschool. But not long after she left, my phone rang. "Honey, come over here quickly. The shop is surrounded again." I hurriedly dropped Qian off at the nearby preschool and sped straight to Wanjiahui. When I arrived, I realized something was off. A massive crowd was gathered in front of the fruit shop. Layer upon layer of people. I squeezed in to see what was happening, and froze. Right in front of my shop, people were kneeling. We were wrong. The leader was that guy, Brother Young. A week ago, he was acting like a tyrant at the shop, but now he was kneeling right at the entrance. His head was bowed, his face a mess of black and blue bruises. Behind him, 4 or 5 of his lackeys were also kneeling, each one with a swollen face. 2 of them even had their arms in slings. The group was kowtowing in unison, their heads hitting the ground with a thud. They were slamming their foreheads against the tiles, without holding back at all. 2 men were standing nearby. It was Gu Weidong's driver, and that bodyguard, arms crossed over their chests. They watched indifferently. The crowd surrounding them was buzzing with excitement. "Isn't that Brother Yong? Why is he kneeling here? What's the background of this fruit shop owner? Even Brother Yong has to bow down to her."
I don't know.
She looks quite young. I didn't expect her to be such a formidable figure. I didn't have time to listen to their gossip, and hurried into the shop. Xu Meng was sitting behind the cash register, her face expressionless. She just sat there silently, but I knew her too well. Her hands were gripping her cup so hard her knuckles were white. I walked over and took her hand. It was ice cold. She looked up at me, her eyes rimmed with red honey. They were already kneeling here the moment I opened the door. It scared me to death. I was a bit speechless. Everyone thought she was tough, but it turns out she was terrified inside the shop. I gently patted the back of her hand, then turned and went outside to find the driver. "What's going on here?" The driver's attitude was very respectful. "Mr. Chen, these are the boss orders," he said. "These people must kowtow and apologize. They are to keep kowtowing until you and your wife are satisfied." "How many times have they done it?" "If you haven't said you're satisfied, they'll just keep going." I nodded. I walked over to Brother Yong and crouched down. Brother Yong looked up at me, his face drenched in sweat. His forehead was already rubbed raw and bleeding, blood mixing with sweat as it dripped down. "Brother Yong, we meet again." I looked at him. "You're the one who ordered the truck to be trashed, right? And your people threw away the dragon fruit too. The driver was also beaten by your men. Tell me, how should we settle this? How about you leave a hand behind?" His face turned deathly pale. He started kowtowing frantically again. "Big brother,
I was wrong.
I was blind not to recognize your greatness."
Ill pay. Ill compensate for everything. Pay money, yes, yes, yes.
The truck of fruit. The medical bills, ill pay double. Triple even. I waved my hand. "I don't need your money. In this Wanjiahui market, are there any other businesses you're collecting protection money from?" He gaped.
Well, are there?
"If there are, give it all back. From now on, none of your people are allowed to step foot in this market. Do I make myself clear?" He nodded repeatedly. Crystal clear, crystal clear. I'll return it right now. If any of my men ever dare to step into Wanjiahui again, I'll cut off my own hand." I stood up, not bothering to look at him again. The surrounding crowd suddenly erupted into cheers. "Did you hear that? No more protection money. The boss lady is so righteous. She chased those bastards away for us. It's not just righteous. It's absolutely legendary. Brother Yong has been running wild for years. Who would have dared to touch him? From now on, if you want fruit, buy it from this boss lady." I was stunned. Clearly, I was the one who negotiated. I was the one who made Brother Yong pay. I was the one who kicked them out. Why is everyone thanking the boss lady? I turned to look at Xu Meng. She was still sitting behind the register. The shock on her face hadn't fully faded. "Fine, boss lady it is. After all, the boss lady still has to attend to the boss tonight. The matter with Brother Young. Did Gu Weidong really settle it that quickly? I decided to give him another subtle hint. The call connected. Thank you first. Brother Gu. Thanks for handling Lu Yong. It was a small matter, Gu Weidong said. Lai Wazan has already sent word. He won't dare to make a move again.
Good.
I paused for a moment. By the way, I didn't explain your father's character reading in detail last time. I can't say too much about heavenly secrets, to avoid revealing too much. Tolerance is the greatest blessing. Some things shouldn't be calculated too strictly. Guidong was silent for 2 seconds. I understand. Pass that on to my father. I hung up. ID said enough. Whatever the Gu family chooses now has nothing to do with me. At noon in the shop, the few of us gathered around a small table to eat lunch boxes. La Diandian was scrolling through her phone while eating. Suddenly, she lowered her voice. My neighborhood is about to be demolished. This girl was hired to help Xu Meng with live streaming. She's a Linhai local named Shui Chuanmai. She has a lively personality and never stops chatting all day long. Demolished for what? Look at this new news report. She handed over her phone. I took it and saw a massive headline. Initiating redevelopment of the Southwest Old Town. Expanding the Binjiang Commercial District. The content was exactly what I had said. Eat the dinner with Lu Xingrong last time. Old Town demolition, Binjiang expansion. Everything was spot on. I gave her phone back and continued eating. I noticed Xu Meng was watching me. She didn't say anything, but I understood that look. She also remembered what happened that day. I looked her in the eye and winked. She was slightly taken aback, then bit her lip with a smile and went back to her food. Just then, the sound of screeching tires echoed outside. A black Mercedes parked right in front of the door. A black Mercedes parked right in front of the door. The car door flew open. Lu Xingrong practically jumped out of the car. Brother, my dear brother. He strode inside. Sweat still beaded on his forehead. Brother Liu, what's wrong? You have to help me this time. He slumped down across from me.
That's Southwest District Planning. Did you see the news?
I just saw it. It's a perfect match. He slammed the table. Everything you said that day was spot on. The new mayor just took office, and his first move was to target the Old Town redevelopment and riverfront expansion. He took a deep breath. Brother, under a lot of pressure right now. I tapped the table. You hit the jackpot, so why the pressure? It's because I hit it so big that the pressure is on. He rubbed his hands together anxiously. Yuanjing Group is in the spotlight now, but redeveloping an old town isn't easy. Demolition compensation, cultural heritage sites, business owners. If even one step goes wrong, those people watching me like hawks will eat me alive. He lowered his voice. A while back, I used other plots of land from those other companies to trade for a lot of land in the Southwest District. Back then, they all laughed at me for being a fool. Now, every single one of them is green with envy, just waiting for me to make a mistake. I listened without responding. The new mayor has already met with me. Lu Xingrong continued. Mayor Wen asked me for a specific plan. I told him I'd soon present something that would satisfy him. He leaned forward, brother.
You absolutely must help me this time.
I tapped the table, Brother Lu. I tapped the table, Brother Lu. Your company has so many executives, and no shortage of talent. This matter requires the resources of the entire company. As an outsider, it's not appropriate for me to interfere.
What's inappropriate about it?
Come work at my company as the CEO. An annual salary of 10 million yuan, what do you think? I shook my head. I'm used to my freedom. I can't be a CEO. Then how about this? His mind was spinning incredibly fast. You can be the executive director of my company. With the authority of a CEO, once the Southwest project is settled, you're free to stay or leave as you wish. I absolutely won't stop you. I laughed. I don't even have shares in your company. So how could I be an executive director? He chuckled. Regarding Wang Jiahui, I bought up quite a few shares a while back. I'll transfer them all to you. Then you use these shares to swap for shares in my Yuanjing Group.
Wouldn't that solve everything?
I paused for a moment. This offer sounds interesting. If I get my hands on Wang Jihai with shares, I won't just be a merchant here anymore. I'll be a shareholder of this entire market. That's a massive difference. I thought about it for a bit, then held up 2 fingers, 2 conditions. First, Wang Jihai's shares will be valued at their actual worth. I'll buy them at market price. I appreciate the favor, but I won't shortchange you a single cent. He started to say something, but I raised my hand to stop him. Second, I said, looking him straight in the eye, I want full authority over the Southwest District's planning. I want total control over the Southwest District's development. The plan will be mine to decide. The team will be mine to choose. The process will be mine to run. The entire Yuanjing Group,
including you, Mr.
Lu, must follow my lead. Lu Xingrong froze for a second. Then he burst out laughing. He laughed heartily. Deal. He reached out his hand. It's settled then, little brother. Within 3 days, the entire share swap was completed. On the 4th day, an extraordinary shareholders meeting was held. Xu Meng and I officially became the new shareholders of Yuanjing Group. Although her stake wasn't large, a shareholder is still a shareholder. This morning before heading out, she spent nearly 20 minutes in front of the mirror. She wore a navy blue business suit. Her hair was tied up, revealing her pale neck. I was stunned for a moment. It was the first time I'd seen her dressed like that. She looked like the perfect corporate lady. The shareholders' meeting ended quickly. I became the CEO. Xu Meng sat in the back row. She quietly observed the board of directors throughout the session. Wait, let's go meet a few people. After speaking, Lu Xingrong tried to pull Xu Meng along. Sister-in-law, you're a shareholder now too. Come, listen in. Xu Meng looked at me, her eyes full of anticipation. I nodded.
Let's see what they have to say.
The boardroom was packed with management. Familiar faces nodded in greeting. Strangers watched with scrutinizing eyes, some even with contempt. Especially the man sitting at the head of the table on the left, a man in his 50s with a square jaw. His eyes were filled with clear hostility.
Lu Xingrong whispered, "That's Wu Quan."
The general manager of Yuanjing. With you here, his authority is going to be stripped away. After Lu Xingrong announced the appointment, he added emphasis. From now on, if Mr. Chen and I have different opinions, Mr. Chen's word is final. A wave of murmurs erupted below. The corners of Wu Quan's mouth twitched downward. I stood up and gave a brief introduction. The applause was sparse. Wu Quan didn't even flinch. Just as I was about to sit down, he spoke up. Mr. Chen isn't even 30 yet. Becoming CEO at this age? Is there even a precedent for this in Yuanjing's history? Someone beside him chimed in. He only has a bachelor's degree, and has not even from this field. The professional barriers in real estate are very high. Can Mr. Chen really handle this? I didn't answer. A senior manager wearing glasses spoke up. The Southwest District project involves relocation and renovation. The revised plan is hundreds of pages long. Is Mr. Chen confident he can shoulder this burden? At that moment, Hu Kun stood up and glared at me. I have a specific question. The Southwest renovation area has 3 historic buildings from the late Qing and early Republic eras. They must be preserved while we renovate the underground pipes. One slip-up during excavation could cause a collapse. We've been studying this for a month. Does CEO Chen have a solution? Everyone in the room looked at me. Xu Meng clenched her fingers tightly. She realized this was a direct challenge. If I couldn't give a solid answer, no one here would help me. I looked down at the blueprints. The locations of the 3 historic buildings were clearly marked. The surrounding pipes and foundations were also detailed. Hu Kun had indeed put in a lot of work. I looked up. I gave a faint smile. It was time for Xu Meng to see what her husband was capable of.
That's a great question, mister.
Who? I placed the blueprints back on the table. But before I answer, I want to ask you something. The plan is already on its 6th revision. You've budgeted 30 million for the retaining walls. Hu Kun paused for half a second.
That's right.
About 30 million. I shifted the conversation. Then do you know this plan has a fatal flaw? His expression changed slightly.
What flaw?
I pushed the blueprints forward. The foundations of these late Qing and early Republic buildings are very shallow. The deepest point is no more than 2 meters. You're driving retaining walls 12 meters deep right through the house foundations. Once you pierce them, the groundwater flow will change. This will cause the soil beneath the foundations to wash away.
This isn't protection.
It's actually accelerating the destruction. Hu Kun's expression shifted instantly. Whispers began to ripple through the meeting room. I leaned back in my chair. My voice was steady and measured. That is the first issue. Now, for the second. The 3 companies mentioned in the Tiangong construction plan, Hongda and Yongchuan plumbing industry. I picked up the documents and flipped through a few pages. The legal representative of Tiangong is a Mr. Who has your cousin? One of Hongda's shareholders is your nephew. Yongchuan Plumbing was established less than 6 months ago. Its only partner is Yuanjing. All the orders they've signed are for the early stages of the Southwest District project. The room fell deathly silent. Every eye was fixed on Hu Kun. His face gradually turned pale. You're framing me. He suddenly bolted upright. That's just standard business cooperation. My cousin has been in construction for over a decade. On what grounds should he be barred from bidding? I looked at him without saying a word. I waited for him to finish his outburst before speaking calmly. Manager Hu, I haven't even said there was a problem yet.
Why are you getting so worked up?
He was left speechless. I turned to the CFO. Director Li, please bring me the financial reports. For these 3 companies from the last 2 years, Lu Xingrong nodded and went to get them. 3 financial reports were placed in front of me. I picked them up but didn't open them. I just held them while staring at Hu Kun. Manager Hu, you've been with Yuanjing for 17 years. Manager Hu, you've been with Yuanjing for 17 years. Manager Hu, you've been with Yuanjing for 17 years. I'll give you 2 choices. First, resign now. I'll act as if nothing happened. I won't even open these reports. Second, I open them. And then the person you'll be facing won't be me, but the full extent of the law. The room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Everyone was waiting. He stood there, hands braced against the table. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, then he slowly bowed his head.
I resign.
I set the reports down. Take care, mister. Who? I scanned the room. No one dared to meet my eyes anymore. Let's continue the meeting. My first act as the new official was to burn Hu Kun to the ground. By that afternoon, the news had spread throughout Yuanjing. The effect was immediate.
Over the next few days,
the policy implementation went incredibly smoothly. Every department cooperated fully. If I needed data, I got data. If I needed people, I got people. No one dared to pass the buck. I led the team, working nonstop for a week. Finally, we produced the results. On the afternoon, the plan was finalized. I gathered the whole team. We reviewed everything from start to finish. When I finished, the room was silent for a few seconds. I don't know who started clapping first, but the applause grew louder and louder, until it echoed throughout the room. I looked at their faces, eyes bloodshot from staying up late. I smiled and told them to go home and sleep.
We'll celebrate tomorrow.
But no one moved. An engineer rubbed his hands together. Mr. Chen, could you explain the layout of the underground pipe system one more time? I still don't quite get it, but it feels incredibly impressive. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. These people had worked themselves into a daze, but I knew that from that day on. The entire Yuanjing company truly respected me. I brought the plan to Liu Xingrong. He flipped through a few pages and jumped to his feet. My brother, this is brilliant.
This is amazing.
If this project succeeds, old Laius' life will have been worth it. He paced around his office in excitement. After 2 laps, he suddenly stopped. The excitement vanished, replaced by worry. But there's something I have to be blunt about. He rubbed his hands and sat down. First issue. Will the city approve this? Mayor Wen just took office. I'm afraid he might not have the guts for this. I smiled. Just a bit of persuasion should do. If it really doesn't work, I'll go with you then. Liu Xingrong's expression relaxed slightly, but his brow furrowed again. Second, it's too expensive. The budget is 3 times the original estimate. Well, definitely need massive loans. What if? I cut him off. What if? I cut him off. If the budget increases, then the profits will too. Long-term profits will be 6 to 8 times the original.
I know that.
He gave a bitter smile.
But what about the initial capital?
The bank. We don't need the bank. He was stunned. What? Phase 1 startup capital is over 100 million yuan. Don't tell me you don't even have that much. Liu Xingrong thought he had misheard. Over 100 million yuan.
I've seen your plan.
You won't get through the first phase without at least 800 million yuan. I gave a slight smile. Just wait. I'll show you what a real game of capital looks like. That afternoon, in a small meeting room at City Hall, Mayor Wen Min met with the Bureau of Construction, along with the heads of the planning and finance bureaus. To hear the report, Liu Xingrong sat beside me, looking a bit nervous. Let's begin. Mayor Wen nodded. I opened the documents. I spoke continuously for 40 minutes. By the 20th minute, the pen in Mayor Wen's hand had stopped moving. The pen in Mayor Wen's hand had stopped moving. He leaned back, staring intently at the projection screen, and then back at me without blinking. The bureau directors began exchanging glances, filled with utter disbelief. They were likely wondering just what kind of genius they were dealing with. When I finished, I clicked to the next slide. The room was so silent you could hear a pin drop for 5 full seconds. Mayor Wen picked up his teacup. If anyone has questions, feel free to ask. Director Chu was the first to speak. Digging 3 levels deep in the old district. How will you protect the surrounding historical structures? What if the construction causes a cave-in? I opened the relevant page. It's not a full-scale excavation. It's a point-by-point layout. The commercial area, parking, and technical pipelines are handled separately. Using micro-shield tunneling technology to connect to the surface, foundations will be reinforced beforehand. Well, place 12 subsidence monitoring points under each old building. With data updated in real time, Director Wu adjusted his glasses. Tanjiang is expanding by 7 functional zones. What's the basis for these business types? And will there be any overlap in construction? I smiled. The positioning is entirely different. I then proceeded to explain the strategy for all 7 zones. Director Wu had no further questions. Finally, the Director of Finance flipped through his notebook. I only have one question. How much is the budget? And how much collateral is needed? I gave a gentle smile. Director, the city doesn't need to spend a dime on this. Not only will it cost the city nothing, but it will also generate profit for the municipal budget. The director's eyes lit up. Mayor Wen put down his pen. I have one question. Large-scale relocation has always been the toughest hurdle. How can you guarantee it will be finished on time, barring any unforeseen circumstances? I looked at him. I waited a few seconds before speaking.
Mayor Wen?
The initial phase doesn't require any relocation. Mayor Wen was stunned. No relocation.
That's right.
No relocation. Everyone in the room was shocked. No relocation. Everyone in the room was shocked. Liu Xingrong looked at me in shock, frantically signaling with his eyes. Mayor Wen stared at me. President Chen, how do you plan to renovate the old district without relocating anyone? I smiled. A home swap. Director Chu frowned. A home swap. I chuckled and explained. We're just shifting the order. First, we expand Tanjiang. Then we renovate the old district. Construction on the new Tanjiang district will start first. Commercial housing and offices will be built to high standards. Once completed, the city will issue a policy. City government employees, residents, and business owners in the Southwest Old District will be given priority for the home swap. I paused for a moment. The order of the swap will be decided by a lottery. I paused for a moment. The order of the swap will be decided by a lottery. Those who win can trade their old home for a new one, paying only the difference in square footage. The price difference will be calculated at cost, much lower than the market price. The room fell silent for a few seconds. Director Wu's eyes widened.
You mean?
To make them move voluntarily. Exactly. The point isn't us forcing them out. It's them wanting to move.
What are the conditions in the old district?
What are the conditions in the new Tanjiang district? New homes, new environment, new amenities. And the price difference isn't high. If it were you, would you swap? Director Zhou asked. What about those who don't want to swap? Those who agreed are already gone. The remaining ones will naturally be easier to negotiate with. I smiled. With fewer people left, their demands will be simpler. By then, the difficulty of discussing relocation will drop by 80%. Director Zhao's jaw dropped. It took him a moment to find his voice. But those are government employees. They get to benefit from the policy too, right? If the officials lead the way, the citizens will see the incentive. They must be the first wave of the home swap. After I finished, I scanned the room. No one spoke. Everyone's eyes were wide, looking at me like I was some kind of monster. I understood the look in their eyes. You can actually play it this way. Mayor Wen stood up. Well, take this plan back for further study. Well, get back to you soon. He walked us downstairs, all the way to the car door. Before I got in, he reached out to shake my hand again. He raised his other hand and gave my shoulder 2 firm pats. He didn't say anything, but I understood. He didn't say anything, but I understood. The plan was approved very quickly. The teams at Yuanjing Group were restructured. The Jinglong Secret Valley project broke ground. Every day, I was busy with a million things. Reviewing blueprints, attending meetings, coordinating resources. Everything was progressing according to plan. But what I didn't expect was that this plan would expose the largest Ponzi scheme in Ninghai's history. That afternoon, my phone rang. Xu Meng's voice sounded very urgent. Something happened to Dad. I put down my pen. What's wrong? Did your brother call? The project Dad invested in was a scam. He said the people have vanished, and the money can't be recovered. Dad was so angry he's been hospitalized. I'm on my way to the hospital now. After hanging up, I called Zhu Hai directly. He let out a long sigh. It's that retirement home project, led by a retired official. They said there were internal slots, and they'd get monthly interest. For the first few months, they actually paid out. Dad was pretty happy about it. He paused for a moment. But then, a few days ago, some damn bastard came up with that home swap lottery plan, saying the city is prioritizing government employees in the old district. Hearing about the house swap sent Dad into a total panic. He already put his old house up as collateral for that project. He can't swap it anymore. He and a few others went to find that retired official. When they asked for their money back, he said it was no problem. He told them they could redeem it at any time. But when they went back 2 days ago, the man had completely vanished. The house was empty. His phone was disconnected. Even the project office was locked up tight. Shoo, Hay's voice choked up. Everyone is losing their minds over this. A huge crowd is gathered there now, calling the police. You know what Dad's temper is like? The moment he heard the money was gone, he fainted right on the spot. I fell silent for 2 seconds. I understand. I'm heading over now? I said that and hung up. I leaned back in my chair and rubbed the bridge of my nose. This whole situation is just the urban plan I created for Mayor Wen and the others. Prioritized house swaps for city officials and the Southwest Old Town District. Once the news broke, the results were unexpectedly effective. It was originally meant as a benefit for city officials, but now it's attracting residents and businesses from the Old Town too. Those people aren't stupid. Of course they want to fight for a spot. Everyone wants to get their property back from the collateral they gave that retired official, just so they can participate in the house swap program in time. They all rush to redeem their assets at once. A Ponzi scheme. The biggest fear is a mass withdrawal of funds. The money was likely embezzled a long time ago. Where would he get the cash to pay them back? It would be strange if that official didn't run away. I gently massaged my temples. My original intention was to push the project's progress forward. I didn't expect to accidentally expose such a massive scam, and now my father-in-law is caught right in the middle of it. I cleared the documents off my desk. I gave my team a few instructions, telling them to keep working. Then I stood up and headed to the hospital to see what was happening. As soon as I reached the hospital gates, I saw a massive crowd. Someone was trying to jump. From the top of the inpatient building, I looked up. A figure was barely visible on the rooftop. Their arms were waving frantically. My phone rang. Xu Meng's voice was urgent and trembling.
Zhu Sheng. He
has lost his mind. He wants to jump. My heart tightened. The person up there was my father-in-law. Where are you? Behind the building on the east side. Where are you? Behind the building on the east side. Where are you? Behind the building on the east side. Please, get here fast. I pushed through the crowd and ran toward the back of the building. The scene was already cordoned off with caution tape. Fire trucks and police cars filled the area. Rescue air cushions were being deployed. Shumeng was standing nearby. Her face was deathly pale. She rushed toward me the moment she saw me. Her eyes were bloodshot. We only looked away for a second, and he slipped out of the ward. 1,000,000 yuan and the house are both gone. The shock was too much for him. That's why He's doing this. I looked up. The figure on the roof had already climbed over the railing. He was standing on the very edge. Beside us, Shuhai collapsed onto the ground. My mother-in-law was being supported by 2 female officers. She was crying so hard she couldn't even stand. I looked toward a young policewoman. What's the situation right now? Are you a family member? I'm his son-in-law. My brow furrowed deeply. The subject is extremely agitated.
He has a knife.
That railing is severely rusted. It could collapse at any moment. Our team tried to approach, but he saw them coming. A negotiator went up, but the results aren't looking good. As soon as she finished, a scream erupted from above. I snapped my head up. Xu Zhengqi had climbed outside the railing. He was standing on the narrowest part of the ledge. Dad! Shu Hai screamed. My mother-in-law's eyes rolled back, and she collapsed. Shu Meng's legs gave out. I caught her immediately.
Zuisheng.
She gripped me tight, tears streaming down her face. I helped her sit down nearby. Then I turned and walked straight toward the building.
What are you doing?
The policewoman blocked my path. I'm going up there to talk to him.
You can't.
It's too dangerous. I have a way. I sidestepped her and ran straight for the stairs. I bolted all the way to the top. The wind on the rooftop was howling. The negotiator was standing over 10 meters away. He held up his hands. Mister.
XU.
Money can be earned back. But if you lose your life, it's all over. Xu Zhengqi had his back to him. Standing on the wrong side of the railing, he swung the knife. Don't come any closer. Take one more step and I'm jumping. I walked up and tapped the negotiator's shoulder. Family. Let me handle this. He was stunned for a moment, then he slowly backed away. I took 2 steps forward and stopped. Xu Zhengqi's body trembled. He slowly turned his head. When he saw it was me, the veins in his eyes grew even redder. Are you here to laugh at me? I'm here to watch you jump. He froze. Isn't that what you want to do? I took another step forward. I'm standing right here to watch you do it. He was shaking violently. He pointed the knife directly at me. Chen Zuang. The reason I'm backed into a corner like this today is all because of you. I nodded.
Right?
It's my fault, is it? Did I force you to invest? Did I force you to mortgage your house? Did I force you to believe that scammers' lies? His mouth hung open, but no words came out. I took another step. Millions of yuan are gone, and now you don't even want your life. If you jump, will the money come back? His lips trembled. If you jump, will the money come back? His lips trembled. That was my entire life savings. So what? I cut him off. If you're dead,
What happens to your wife?
What happens to your son?
your daughter is right down there. If you jump, she'll have to watch it happen. Have you thought about how She's supposed to live after that? The hand holding the knife shook. Dad, haven't you always wanted me to divorce your daughter? I slowly approached him. Well, here's your chance. You're holding a knife. Standing right here. Before you jump, stab me. Consider it your revenge. He glared at me. Don't? You hate me? I spread my arms. Do it. Since you don't want to live anyway, take me with you. Then all our debts will be settled.
You think I want?
He swung the knife wildly. Screams erupted from the crowd below. I didn't flinch. I looked him straight in the eye. If you have the guts, do it. Stab me, then jump. At least you'll have company in the afterlife. Xu Zhengqi's knife froze in midair. His arm was shaking uncontrollably. I took another step. I was only 3 meters away now. The rescue cushion was already inflated. It was bright orange. From up here, it looked like a tiny band-aid. Dad. I lowered my voice. Your daughter is right down there. Listen. You can hear her calling for you. Xu Meng's cries drifted up through the wind. Xu Zhengqi's arm shook even harder. Tears spilled from his eyes. Have you thought about it? I stared at him. If you die, and Qian Qian asks where her grandpa went.
What am I supposed to tell her?
Should I tell her her grandpa got scammed, lost his mind, and jumped off a building? She's only 5 years old. That will haunt her for the rest of her life. His knife slowly lowered. At that exact moment, the railing let out a sharp crack. A rusted section snapped completely. He lost his balance and stumbled. Without hesitation, I lunged forward. My left hand grabbed the wrist holding the knife. My right arm wrapped around his waist, pulling him down. I used every ounce of strength to throw myself backward. Both of us tumbled off the ledge. The wind roared in my ears. Countless screams rose from below. Then, a heavy thud. Everything went black for a moment. I don't know how much time passed. I opened my eyes. The orange rescue cushion was right beneath me. Beside me, Xu Zhengqi was lying on his back, staring blankly at the sky. He wasn't moving. Someone help me up. Sir, are you okay? Are you hurt anywhere? I didn't answer. I looked down at my left arm. Blood was streaming down it. The moment I grabbed him, the knife caught me. He hadn't fully let go of it yet.
Zuisheng.
Xu Meng broke through the police line. She came running, stumbling over her own feet. She knelt on the cushion. Looking at the blood on my arm, Her entire body was shaking.
Why are you so reckless?
How could you be so stupid? She wanted to touch me but was too afraid. Her hands hovered in the air. Huge tears fell one after another. Do you have any idea? When I saw you fall from up there, She couldn't finish the sentence. She just threw her arms around me and sobbed uncontrollably. What would we do without you? I lifted my uninjured right arm and gently patted her back. It's okay. It's just a scratch. She kept crying. Her crying only grew more intense. Medical staff rushed over to put me on a stretcher before they carried me away. I glanced back. Xu Zhengqi was being helped up. He looked as limp as a rag doll. His eyes were vacant as he looked toward us. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at his daughter, kneeling on the cushion, clinging to me and crying her heart out. In the surgical emergency room, the doctor used forceps to examine my wound. Luckily, there was no tendon damage. It needed about 7 or 8 stitches. 2 weeks of rest and it'll be fine. Xu Meng stood by my side. Her eyes were red and puffy when she saw the needle piercing my skin. Her hand gave a slight tremor. Does it hurt? Not at all. Once the stitching and bandaging were done, I moved my arm a bit. It felt okay. Xu Meng still stood there, refusing to leave, until Xu Hai walked in and said, Meng, Mom wants you to go over there for a moment. Xu Meng looked at me. Go ahead. I'll wait for you here. She stepped out. Xu Hai sat down across from me. About that. Chen Zuang, thank you for today. I waved it off. He fell silent for a few seconds. Then he asked, where are you two staying now? The Garden Villa. He froze, then curled his lip. The Garden Villa. Stop bullshitting. I'd believe you if you said you were living in a park. He got halfway through the sentence. Before his eyes landed on the bandages on my arm, he swallowed the rest of his words. I looked at him. A wife follows her husband, for better or for worse. If your sister is willing to stay in a park with me,
what business is it of yours?
He was choked up, unable to find a comeback. He stood up to leave but turned back at the door. Mom told me to tell you, now that the house is gone and the money is all spent,
even if you wanted to come back, you can't.
You're on your own now. I nodded. We've already moved out, so we won't be coming back. Tell Mom and Dad that the Ponzi scheme has collapsed. The cash is likely gone for good, but the house doesn't have legs. It can't run away. Once the case is closed, they'll probably get it back. I went home and rested for half a day. The next day, I went to work, as usual. That afternoon, the company held a meeting to push the project forward.
Everything was proceeding according to plan.
After the meeting, Lu Xingrong pulled me into his office. Zuisheng, the project is finally on track. It's time to consider the next step. We only have about 200 million yuan in liquid cash on the books, according to your plan for Phase 1. We need between 800 million and 1 billion yuan. Should we take out a bank loan? If we do, it's best to ask Mayor Wen to put in a word with the bank. No need. I shook my head. I took a piece of paper from my pocket and pushed it toward him. Help me open domestic and international derivatives trading accounts. His eyes widened. You're playing with derivatives. Do you have any idea how high the risk is? What if we lose it all? I spoke with absolute certainty. Don't worry. We won't lose. If you want to make money, don't look to the mayor. Look to the market. Let me know once the accounts are open. As for the rest, you just sit back and watch. 3 days later, all the accounts were set up. For the following week, I practically lived at the office, handling project business during the day and monitoring international markets at night. Sometimes I stayed up until 3 or 4 in the morning. Xu Meng was heartbroken seeing me like this. On the very first night, she brought a thermal lunchbox. She walked in and saw my eyes glued to the screen. She set the container on the desk. Drink this pork rib soup before you keep working. I looked up and saw a little head peeking out from behind her.
Daddy Mommy said you're hurt but still have to work.
I'm here to supervise you.
Qian Qian ran over and jumped into my lap. I smiled. All right, you're the boss? Xu Meng sat down beside me. She frowned at the messy red and green lines on the screen. Do you even understand what all this means? I chuckled. Your husband is a man of many talents. That night, they stayed until 10:30. From then on, they came every single day. The food in the lunchbox was different every time. Lu Xingrong stopped going home to sleep too. He had a room cleared out right next door. At night, Head watched the electronic boards with me. He didn't understand it, so he just sat there. Occasionally, Head asked any movement yet. I'd tell him, not yet. And so he continued to wait. On the 3rd night, he called the administrative manager. He arranged for 2 shifts of staff, triple pay for the night shift to support General Manager Chen. 20 minutes later, coffee, tea, and snacks were brought in. Lu Xingrong leaned back on the sofa and muttered, even as chairman, I've never had this kind of treatment. My eyes were fixed on the screen. I didn't bother acknowledging him. The CFO, Mr.
Li,
came to see me specifically about this. He spoke with total sincerity. General Manager Chen, 30 million yuan is not a small sum. With high leverage and high volatility, one tiny mistake, and our capital could vanish overnight. The company is pushing hard on the Southwest District project. If this money is lost, the project's progress will be crippled. Our bank credit lines will also be in jeopardy. Everything he said was perfectly logical. I smiled. I understand everything you're saying, Mr.
Lee.
But you don't understand my playstyle. Just wait and see. Lu Xingrong was silent for a few seconds. He waved his hand. Just do as General Manager Chen says. Mr.
Lee took a deep breath.
He nodded and turned to walk out. On the 6th night, the trend lines on the screen began to move. I stared at the numbers. My fingers tapped lightly on the keyboard. Lu Xingrong leaned in. Is it starting?
Almost.
He nodded. After waiting all these days, it's finally here. The board started fluctuating wildly. I kept my eyes locked on the screen and began typing. Lu Xingrong leaned closer. How's it looking? I said no rush. I opened the trading interface and began placing short sell orders. 10 million, 20 million, 50 million. I entered the positions in batches. He watched the dancing numbers. His Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed. The first day, it didn't drop. The second day, it bounced back up. The short positions were showing a temporary loss. He couldn't sit still anymore. He paced back and forth in the room. The atmosphere was incredibly tense. On the night of the 3rd day, I stared intently at the electronic board. Lu Xingrong closed his eyes as he leaned back on the sofa. The door opened, and a young woman walked in carrying a tray. Coffee and snacks were neatly arranged on it. Lu Xingrong jolted awake. He glanced at her. He asked if she was new. He said she was a newcomer from the administrative department. Her name was Xu Yingying. Lu Xingrong paused for a moment.
Xu Yingying.
Win-win.
That's a good name. I couldn't help but chuckle. When people are under pressure, anything can become a psychological crutch. I looked at Xu Yingying and said, from now on, you are my secretary. She was stunned, but she reacted instantly. Yes, Boss Chen. I won't let you down. I'll definitely do my best. Another day passed. The electronic board finally began to fluctuate. The K-line took a sharp turn downward. A massive bearish engulfing candle appeared. The gains from the previous 3 days began to evaporate. Lu Xingrong stared at the screen. He didn't even blink. By the time the market closed that evening, the account was back at the break-even point. He let out a long, heavy sigh of relief. He slumped onto the sofa and said, "Kid, my heart can't take much more of this. My heart is about to give out." I replied, "It hasn't even started yet." He bolted upright. He said, "All this and it hasn't even started." I nodded. The next morning was the company's regular meeting. Each department reported their progress. Finally, the topic of material procurement came up. The head of the construction department stood up. He said the second phase of the project was about to break ground. We need to pre-order the steel and cement. Prices are stable for now. Prices are stable at the moment, sir. But in 2 weeks, they could spike by 50%. Lu Xingrong looked over at me. I shook my head and said, wait 3 more days. The construction manager grew anxious. He said, Boss Chen, any delay will increase costs by 10%. By then, material prices will be up and labor costs will follow. I repeated. I said, wait 3 days. He opened his mouth to argue, but then looked at Lu Xingrong. Lu Xingrong waved him off and said, do as Boss Chen says. Meeting adjourned. That night, the electronic board fluctuated within a narrow range. There was no major movement. Lu Xingrong leaned against the sofa. His eyelids grew heavier and heavier. Eventually, he drifted off to sleep. I kept my eyes glued to the screen, feeling a bit drowsy myself. The door opened softly. Xu Yingying walked in with a tray. The very moment the door opened, the numbers on the screen suddenly jumped. A long red candle pierced right through the support level. My eyes lit up. It's here. I couldn't help but glance at Xu Yingying. This girl really is a lucky charm. The moment she walked in, the market started to surge. Lu Xingrong was startled awake. He rubbed his eyes, sat up, and asked, what's happening? I told him, come see for yourself. He jumped. He practically leaped off the sofa. He rushed over to the computer. The numbers on the screen were dancing wildly. Red candles were plunging down one after another. The balance in the account began to double. 20 Sigrid million turned into 400 million. Lu Xingrong's eyes widened in shock. His jaw dropped. He was completely speechless. He instinctively picked up the coffee next to him and took a sip. He winced from the heat, but his eyes never left the screen. His voice was trembling. He asked, kid, should we close the position now? Is this enough? I said, what's the rush? I opened the trading interface and said, not only are we not closing, but we're doubling down. His facial muscles twitched as he said, hey, from 200 million to 500 million. I'm more than satisfied already. I clicked the mouse a few times. I added 2 more layers to the position. He watched me work. His hands were shaking uncontrollably. By the end of that session, the profit dipped slightly, leaving us with 450 million. But our position was much heavier now. I took out my phone and texted Xu Meng, transfer the 20 million in my card to the derivatives account. She replied almost instantly, done. Please be careful. I smiled and set the phone aside. The following day, Lu Xingrong spent the whole day acting like he'd lost his soul. He struggled to wait until 8 p.m., then 9, then 10. Before the session even opened, the board began to react. During the pre-market matching phase, the price gapped down significantly. Then it went into a freefall. Lu Xingrong stared intensely at the screen. He was pinned to his seat. He didn't move an inch. I opened the account. The profit was at 17 billion. He swallowed hard and asked, "Brother, you're still not closing." I said, "Not yet." He asked, "How low will it go?" I looked at the screen and said, "Into the negatives." His legs went weak. He nearly slid right off his chair. He braced himself against the desk. Steadying himself, he gasped, "Negative. Brother, are you for real?" I told him I was serious. He gripped the table and slowly sat back down. He didn't say another word. He just kept his eyes glued to the screen. In the early hours of the morning, the price approached zero. I began buying back to cover the positions in stages. I liquidated part of the short orders to lock in the profits. The rest was waiting for the final blow. At 3:17 a.m., the price hit zero. Lu Xingrong suddenly bolted upright. My fingers flew across the keyboard. The final batch of short orders was closed. The number on the screen stopped at 23 billion. Lu Xingrong collapsed back into his chair. He was panting heavily. I opened another account. Xu Meng's 20 million had now turned into over 300 million. It wasn't over yet. At 3:20 a.m., the price continued its plunge. Finally, it settled at negative $37.63. Lu Xingrong stared blankly at that number. He slowly turned to look at me. His gaze was like he was looking at a monster. He said, "Kid, should I just bow down to you right now?" I burst out laughing, while he remained in a daze. 23 billion.
Good God.
He jumped up and grabbed my hand. "Brother, why the hell am I still doing real estate? Let's just become professional derivatives traders together." After a sleepless night, the domestic derivatives market opened at 9 a.m., with the international market crashing last night. The morning session here was guaranteed to follow suit. This was the opportunity I needed. I opened the trading interface and started placing orders. Rebar, hot-rolled coils, glass, cement, anything the project needed. The bid prices were set ridiculously low. In the other account, I had already closed out the short positions. Near the $0 mark, I flipped my strategy and went long on crude oil. Right now, oil was still under $10. It was cheaper than bottled water, but I knew that before long, the conflict in the north would push oil prices up to $130. Buying now was like picking up free money. I didn't leave Lu Xingrong's account idle either. I took 1 billion out of the 23 billion. And bit by bit, I opened long positions. Crude oil, copper, rubber. I bought a little of everything available. At 9:30, the first batch of orders was filled. 10:00, the second batch. 11:00, the third. Watching the transaction log scroll continuously on the screen, the corner of my mouth curled up. That's enough. 2 p.m., management meeting. I walked into the conference room. Everyone was already there. Lu Xingrong sat at the head of the table. His face was beaming. "CEO Chen is here.
Have a seat. Have a seat."
I sat down. I scanned the room. The CFO, Manager Li from the construction department, the marketing director, and several VPs were all present. Lu Xingrong cleared his throat and got straight to the point. "The funding for Phase 1 is secured." Everyone looked at each other in confusion.
Lu Xingrong pointed at me.
"Guess what? How much did CEO Chen make for the company last night?" He held up 2 fingers. He increased it several times over. He signaled 23, as in 23 billion. From 200 million in capital. He made 23 billion last night. The entire room erupted into chaos. CFO Li bolted upright from his chair. The chair was pushed back violently. He stared at me with wide eyes. His mouth was open, but no words came out. I waved my hand. "Manager Li, please sit down." I addressed everyone. The market was just in a strong trend. It was just perfect timing. Lu Xingrong laughed loudly. He had completely lost his usual composure. "Did you all see the news? Crude oil prices went negative yesterday. Who could just happen to catch an opportunity like that? I certainly don't have that kind of luck, but it doesn't matter.
CEO Chen does.
He has the skill to seize this fortune." He leaned his hands on the table and stood up. "This is great. Phase 1 funding is ready. Phase 2 won't be an issue either. We can now go all in on the Southwest District project." Thunderous applause filled the room. Lu Xingrong waited for the clapping to die down. Then he dropped another bombshell. "To everyone in the company, including the cleaning staff, everyone gets an 8,000 yuan bonus. And for those working overtime lately, your overtime pay will be doubled." It was after 4 p.m. Xu Meng brought in a thermos and gave me some soup. I noticed her expression was a bit strange. I asked her what was wrong. I think I just saw my brother.
Shuhai. Yeah.
Right there in the first floor lobby. As the elevator doors were closing, I saw someone who looked exactly like him. I think he saw me too, but he didn't come up. I said he was probably here for business. Lately, many companies have been coming by looking for contracts. I called the sales manager. I told him to check on it. A few minutes later, the phone rang. "CEO Chen, I found him." A manager named Shu was just here, but their company hasn't received any orders yet. CEO Chen, should I arrange something for them? I smiled. If there's a suitable spot, you can set something up. That company has some ties to our shareholders, but no need for special treatment. Just follow the standard procedure. Understood. I hung up. Shu Meng looked at me. Did you arrange something for them? It was no trouble at all, but I didn't expect that this simple gesture would end up causing me trouble. I got home around dusk. As soon as I walked in, I saw Shu Meng sitting on the sofa. Her eyes were red and puffy. It was obvious. She had just been crying. My heart tightened.
What's wrong, honey?
She shook her head and said nothing. Qian Qian ran over and hugged her. Mommy's crying. I knelt down and asked Qian Qian.
What happened, sweetie?
Qian Qian's little face was pouting. She said angrily, we went to eat today. Grandpa hit Mommy, and he called her a shameless woman. Fury immediately surged within me. That old man caused a scene at the hospital and threatened to jump. I was the one who went up there and brought him down. And now he turns around and hits my wife. I took a deep breath to suppress my rage. I gripped Shu Meng's shoulders firmly, making her look me in the eye. Meng, whatever it is, just tell me. I will never let anyone bully you. Her tears started flowing again. She buried her face in my chest and hugged me tight. Don't ask.
Zuisheng, I'm begging you, don't ask.
I can't bring myself to say it. I held her and gently patted her back. Once she calmed down a bit, I turned to ask Qian Qian, was your uncle there too?
Yes.
I pulled out my phone and called Zhu Hai directly. Zhu Hai, what the hell happened today? He was stunned for a moment, then his tone shifted instantly.
You have the nerve to ask me.
Chen Zuisheng, you're something else? Pushing your own wife into the fire. And now you're acting like you don't know anything. I gripped the phone tight. Speak clearly. You want it clear? Fine. You sold my sister to Lu Xingrong as his mistress, just so you could get rich, didn't you? Xiaoyu's classmate took photos? At the car show, Lu Xingrong bought your wife a car. A Mercedes worth millions right off the bat. And I saw it with my own eyes, my sister going to Yuanjing Group, carrying a thermos. She even used the chairman's private elevator. Selling your wife for glory. Chen Zuisheng, do you have no shame at all? I held the phone in silence. So that was it. That's the humiliation she had to endure at the dinner table. All those relatives looking at her like that, saying such twisted, sarcastic things. Her own father slapped her in front of everyone. All because of a car and an elevator. Over something that wasn't even true. My heart ached for her. And then a cold rage took over. Shu Meng sat on the sofa. Her head down, her shoulders trembling slightly. I took a deep breath. I spoke every word with icy precision.
HUCU High, your company.
The orders you recently got from Yuanjing Group. You were counting those as your big achievements, right? The other end of the line went quiet for a second. What's that supposed to mean? Those orders are gone. And that house your family got scammed out of. I was going to pull some strings to speed up the process and get it back to you sooner. Now you can just sit back and wait. For at least 3 years. Chen Zuisheng, I hung up. I tossed the phone onto the coffee table. Shu Meng looked up at me. Her eyes were bloodshot, tears were still wet on her cheeks. I walked over and pulled her into my arms. I whispered that it was okay now. I'm here. Qian Qian ran over and hugged both of our legs. Early the next morning, the marketing director called. CEO Chen, that manager Shu from the other company is here again. Hez asking why the cooperation was terminated. I gave a cold laugh. Tell him this. He offended a major shareholder of our group. Tell him to go home and think about what he did. If he doesn't get it, then from now on, his company in Ninghai won't get a single order ever again. I hung up and went back to my documents. I could imagine the look on Shu Hei's face when he heard that. Doing real estate marketing in Ninghai and somehow offending a shareholder of Yuanjing Group. What does that even mean? It's basically a death sentence for his career in this city. In the afternoon, the marketing director called again. CEO Chen, the president of their company is here now too. Hez with manager Shu. I used the in a meeting excuse to turn them away. Not seeing them. I smiled faintly. Just leave them there. Don't worry about it. The next day, as soon as I sat down at my desk, the marketing director called yet again.
Boss Chen,
Manager Shu and their president Yang are back. What are your orders? I glanced at my watch. 9:30 a.m. I made them wait for 2 hours yesterday, and they're already back first thing this morning. Looks like they're truly terrified. Take them to the large conference room. The large conference room, sir. Boss Chen, today is the supplier meeting. Exactly. Let them join that one. The other end went silent for a second. Understood. I hung up. I gathered the documents on my desk. That Southwest District project, the main contractor is Yuanjing City Construction. Old town renovation, plus the Riverside expansion. The scale is massive. Our company can't handle it all alone. Steel, cement, advertising, exhibitions. All the suppliers had to gather today, so I could lay down the rules. At exactly 10 a.m., I pushed open the doors to the large conference room. The room was packed. I scanned the crowd. I spotted Shu Hai and President Yang. Since they were late, they were stuck on 2 folding chairs against the wall. They looked completely out of place. It was impossible not to notice them. Xu Hei's eyes locked onto me. His expression froze instantly. His mouth hung open, his eyes bulging. He stood there like he'd been turned to stone. I didn't give him a second glance. I walked straight up to the podium. Good morning, everyone. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Chen Zuang. I am the new CEO of Yuanjing Group. Whispers broke out among the crowd. People started exchanging looks of surprise. I invited you all here today because of the Southwest District project, the Old Town renovation, the Tanjiang expansion. I don't need to tell you how massive it is. Everyone sitting here, over the next 3 years, will get a share of the profits from this project. But there's one thing. My voice dropped. All suppliers must operate in unison.
Unified action.
Material standards,
Construction schedules, and inspection processes, everything must follow the plan exactly. Anyone who messes up is out. I scanned the room.
Yuanjing takes the lion's share.
And you get the rest. But how that's divided?
Is up to me.
The audience was silent for a few seconds. Then someone spoke up. Don't worry, President Chen.
well, definitely cooperate.
Just give the word, President Chen. Well, follow your lead. The chatter died down. But excitement was written all over their faces. Back in the office, I hadn't even been sitting for 10 minutes. When Xu Yingying called, President Chen, President Yang, and Manager Xu are here to see you. Send them in. The door opened and a beaming President Yang walked in. He reached out for a handshake immediately. Ah, President Chen, when I met you at the company last time, I knew you had an extraordinary aura. I didn't expect that in such a short time. You'd become the CEO of Yuanjing. Truly young and talented. I gave his hand a light squeeze. You're too kind, President Yang. Tu Hei followed behind and stood at the doorway. He was stuck, unable to move forward or retreat. I didn't even spare him a single glance. Xu Yingying brew a cup of tea for Director Yang. Xu Yingying gave a quick acknowledgement. She brought over a cup of tea and placed it right in front of Director Yang. Tu Hei stood there, frozen like a statue. His expression shifted constantly, turning from flushed red to deathly pale. There was no tea served for him. Director Yang's eyes darted around. A shrewd man of the world like him could obviously tell there was bad blood between Tu Hei and me. But he also knew that Tu Hei and I were related. So there were things he couldn't just say out loud. I cut straight to the chase. Director Yang, you're here to secure a project, aren't you? He froze for a moment. I pointed directly at Tu Hei. If his situation isn't dealt with, your company won't be getting a single project. Tu Hei's face twisted in shock. Director Yang hurriedly rushed over to pull him aside. Xiao Tu. He grabbed Tu Hei by the arm. Come on now. Whatever the issue is, we can talk it through. If you've done something wrong, just apologize to President Chen, and we can move past this. Tu Hei was seething with rage. His face was completely drained of color. Director Yang looked at him, then back at me. Then he spoke up. President Chen, how about I let you two talk things over first? I'll wait outside. He pushed the door open and stepped out. Only Tu Hei and I remained in the room. I leaned back against the sofa and stared at him. Tu Hei, do you have any idea which shareholder of the Vision Group you've managed to offend? He looked dazed for a moment. I told him it wasn't me. To me, you're a nobody. The person you offended is my wife, your sister, Xu Meng. She is currently one of the shareholders of Yuanjing Group. Xu Hei's eyes widened. How is that possible? I gave a cold snort. I told you I lived in a garden villa, and you didn't believe me. I told you your sister was a shareholder, and you didn't believe that either. So what did you see in that meeting room just now? And what are you seeing right now? Standing here. His Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed hard. I picked up my phone. Should I call Chairman Liu? Let him tell you himself, who attended the last Yuanjing Group shareholders meeting. Xu Hei was completely catatonic, standing before me. He looked like a piece of wood struck by lightning. That evening, after Qian Qian fell asleep, Xu Meng finished her shower and crawled into bed, hugging me tightly. I wrapped my arms around her. We were silent for a moment. She whispered, Zuisheng, thank you. She didn't say what for. She just rested her head on my chest. Sometimes, looking back, it all feels like a dream. Our family being like this. Qian Qian is healthy again. Business is going well. And we have such a nice place to live. She paused for a moment. It's just, thinking back to our wedding makes me a little sad. It was so simple. No one from your family came, and my parents were like that. We didn't even have a proper ceremony. She buried her face in my chest. She didn't say anything else. I held her without a word, but an indescribable emotion welled up inside me. When we got married, I hadn't been reborn yet. My old self was a gambling addict who didn't care about the wedding at all. Xu Meng had defied her entire family to marry him. Enduring that pathetic wedding, since she said that, I should make it up to her with a real wedding. I'll marry her all over again. Feeling her warmth against my chest, my heart suddenly stirred with an unusual intensity. No sooner thought than done. The next day was Sunday. I woke up very early. Xu Meng was still asleep. I gently kissed her forehead and headed straight to Ninghai's oldest jewelry store, a place specializing in custom designs. After hearing my request, the manager brought out a box. Mr. Chen, You're in luck. We just received a flawless 5-carat D-color diamond. Its cut and fire are absolutely perfect. Inside was a raw diamond. Under the lights, it looked as pure as a condensed drop of water. This stone is extraordinary.
We just haven't found a client worthy of it yet.
If you agree, well, begin crafting it immediately.
How long will it take to make it here?
About 3 hours, sir. I nodded. Do it. 2 hours later, a perfect round diamond sat on a black velvet cloth. Every facet reflected tiny sparks of light, like holding a star in the palm of my hand. When I got home, Su Meng had just woken up. She was wandering the living room in her pajamas. Qian Qian was lying on the sofa drawing. I walked over to her side, dropped to one knee, and pulled out the ring box.
Xu Meng froze.
The last wedding doesn't count. This time, it's me. Chen Zuisheng wants to marry you. She covered her mouth. Tears instantly welled up. She was speechless, only able to nod. Nodding frantically, Qian Qian jumped off the sofa and rushed over. Mommy's crying. Daddy's bullying mommy. Xu Meng laughed through her tears. Hez not bullying me. She choked up, unable to continue. She just hugged me tightly. I gently slid the ring onto her ring finger. It was a perfect fit.